2, 1. Yes, indeed. We're back. I think we're live. And it's Freaky Friday time. I am all discombobulated. Yes, indeed. Joe Joseph trying to throw me off before the show. But we can handle that. We can handle that. And I hope all of you out there are ready for a very Freaky Friday. Indeed. So today we're going to be on tfrlive.com, the home of Freaky Friday, and where we give you protection from deception and the quintessential level of woo that you are looking for, especially on a Friday, because right after today's show, we turn up the dial, we turn up the heat, and we take you through the paranormal portal. And talking of that, we are getting very, very close to the 13th of August. Friday the 13th, no less, and the Woo-a-thon. Yes, that's right. Every Friday the 13th, we join forces with Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard, and we bring you 5 hours of possibly the best level of woo you can possibly find on this corner of the internet. And today we're going out on YouTube as well, TalkStream Live. So wherever you are, whenever you are, a big warm welcome to probably the craziest paranormal show, supernatural, science, woo, bloody time traveler show in the world. So with that said, Scotty Lopez, how you doing, man? How you doing? I can't get away from these bloody time travelers, Scott.
Hey, you never know when they're going to pop up, Kev.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be one of these nights, is it? It's going to be littered with...
I love it. I absolutely love it. And let me say this too, Kev. You know, why are your time travelers bloody?
Listen, because none of them pass the Kev Baker litmus test for temporal travel. There you go. Not many men have a litmus test for time travel, but I do, and none of them comes close.
It's nice to know that Kev has the official, litmus test for time travel.
Why official? Why is it official? Because I decided.
Time travel. That's what he is.
Listen, Andy Bashago made me one of the timekeepers. He passed on the chronovisor to me, and listen, I have the chronovisor, and I know, Joe. I know. But I may be corrected today because we've still got this kid kicking around in 2027, sending his videos back from a very, very quiet future indeed. But we'll get into that. Joe Joseph's here, but I'll come to him last, obviously. Nacy, how you doing, brother?
Oh no, here we go. Another Freaky Friday Kev Baker show with Joe Joseph in the house. Hello, gentlemen. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all, babbling on and Babylon.
Nacy, it's a pleasure. Nacy, it's a pleasure to have you here today because I feel and I sense, looking at the face of Joe Joseph, that I may need some backup today. So you being the other Kevin on the panel here, I think we need to stick together today. Joe's got his boisterous face on. Look at him.
Yes, Kevin and Kevin, the number 11, a little slice of heaven or hell. Who will tell? Maybe Scotty Lopez.
Oh, nice. I should really go to Scott again because then it would save me going to Joe. But Joe, coming to us live from his robot workshop. How you doing, brother?
I have one question for you. How the hell does somebody from 2027 warn us that the world's going to end, but he's from 2027 after the world ends? I'm trying to get that.
I'm stuck at. Listen, I struggle to get a YouTube live going in the present time that we're in right now. How somebody can connect on the back end of YouTube from 2027 is beyond me. But hey, don't let that get in the way of a good time travel.
No, this guy's
lark.
for Rizzo. He's for Rizzo.
Well,
He's
he
totally
could be.
for Rizzo.
Listen, he already passes
Well-
test one. Test one is, did you turn up at Apex TV in Australia?
was
And
just to say,
if that's the
I was-
case,
I was
Scott, we
just-
can stroke them off.
I was thinking about the litmus test, and I was like, well, I think number one would be, did he end up on Apex? And he hasn't. So I mean, maybe there's something to it, Kev.
There could well be. There could well be. So I don't know if there's any time travelers listening right now, but if you're able to log into this time here in the present 2021 and go to tfrlive.com/chat, I will be heading over there to hand out free dopamine in just a moment, or as we prefer to call it, we'll lie and we'll say it's the Wookiee roll call and we just get our names called out, but we all know it's about dopamine. That's okay, so I'll hand that out in a minute. But Joe, how's your week been, man? Second week back in the saddle, dude. You look raring to go.
It was busy, but it's Friday night, and I'm feeling all right.
Yeah. I tell you, Scott, maybe we need to take a break. Look how reinvigorated Joe looks. He looks like he's ready for it, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
Hey, I'm kind of reinvigorated as well. Like, I actually got a pretty good sleep the past couple days, so that's nice. That was a nice change of a nice change of tune, So
yeah, like that. That's what I like to hear, dude. That's what I like to hear. So heading on over to the dopamine. I mean the Wookiee cave. You know I'm just joking, you regular Wookiees over there, because I'm in there. Sophia's in there. Lucky is in there. We've got Bam, All One, Paradoxical, Anomaly. We have got Onslow, Daryl Bowles, Psycho Dave, Little Giant, Grateful Creature, Drone Free Zone. And that completes the lineup over at the Wookiee Cave. So there's a heck of a lot of links getting thrown about here in the Skype chat. Joe, I'm coming to you first because you've been dumping that much stuff in there. I honestly, here's a good place to start. I've been kind of talking about and taking a look at the non-space race that's been going on, right? You got these billionaires that have found,
My favorite.
Yeah, they found this really unique way to burn off some of their heinous amounts of money that they've got. Now, listen, this might sound a bit controversial and people might hate me for it, but at the end of the day, it's their money and what they choose to do with it. Hey, and if they've got enough to start rocket companies and going up on these little joyrides into the upper atmosphere, who am I to complain? However, it's all gone a bit wrong for old Jeff Bezos, right? Right, Joe?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Because you see, part of the whole thing here, is the hero worship of astronauts in the past. If you remember, his rocket is named New Shepard after Alan Shepard. And then they also have the New Glenn rocket, which is their larger rocket named after John Glenn. So he has this affinity for the past astronauts, specifically of the Apollo lore, but also an affinity for penis-shaped rockets. Which,
very, very.
Yes, but call it what you will, and whatever his thing is with penis-shaped rockets, to each your own. However, in order to get your wings, that is to officially become an astronaut, the rules used to be that you only had to fly up to 50 miles, and then you could apply and get your wings. Listen to this. This is UPI.com. They said that the FAA have made a rare change to the requirement for its commercial astronaut wings program. Meaning, Blue Origin, specifically Jeff Bezos and his brood, they can't be officially recognized for their space flight this week. It's a shame. And let me be honest with you. I don't know if somebody out there has a stiffy for Jeff Bezos. I mean, a lot of people do. However, I will say that it's awfully interesting that this rule change comes out like on the day that he flies up into space. So listen to this. It says, for the first time in 17 years, the FAA updated its commercial astronaut wings program. Before the change, all that was required to be recognized was to fly at least an altitude of 50 miles. But the change added the requirement that any commercial flight must also include activities during flight that are essential to public safety or contribute to space flight safety, a la like like testing a new space system or something or other, right? So that's basically what they're saying, is that it has to add value to space safety. Now, the FAA will permit crew members for such flights, and the spacecraft will need to be licensed by the FAA. It wasn't licensed by the FAA. So the change means that those who flew on Tuesday, they won't technically be considered astronauts by the government. Another thing is that Bezos' new Shepard rocket is largely autonomous, right? So because it's an autonomous vehicle, there's nothing that the crew really has to do. They just go up there and play. It's like having Hal rocket or pilot your spacecraft.
I mean, you actually
Now,
made it sound better than it is, because you basically just get up there and come straight back down again.
It comes straight down. Yeah, it's stupid anyway. But now, a week earlier, right, Branson goes, and Virgin Galactic goes up, and whee, there they go.
Now, because they were trying something new, does that qualify as space then, and then people flying it?
Well, no, get this. They qualify under the old rules. It says he and 3 others, Richard Branson and 3 others aboard the flight, received their wings as part of the program as it occurred before the change. See, under the new rules, only the 2 pilots on that flight would have qualified. Why? Because they were contributing something to the advancement of space flight safety by testing out a new system. But the 3 passengers, no bueno. They have absolutely no purpose but to go up and come down. That's all their purpose is. So the rules actually changed the day that New Shepard went up into space. Now tell me that's not like crazy, because June 20th had been floated out there for a long time, right?
Yep.
Or July 20th. And then all of a sudden, boom, there you go. Rule change. Now you can't do it. And also, you know, if you take a look at Elon Musk and SpaceX, they really don't have pilots. It's an autonomous vehicle, but they're always doing things as related to spacecraft safety and advancing other and new endeavors, because they're directly related to the International Space Station, where Blue Origin just doesn't have any sort of relationship there. So, and nor does Virgin Galactic. Those 2 entities right now are basically strictly space tourism, which now does not qualify to make you an astronaut. Wah, wah, wah.
Well, I actually
Well, it's 60.
I'll go and then I'll give it to you. I agree with this, really, because when you think about what astronauts in the past had to get through to get that title, it's kind of a kick in the stones to them if somebody like Bezos can come along and just do a hop and a skip and a jump and be given the same kind of credit that proper astronauts are getting. But that's just my initial thought. Nacy, you were going to jump in there, man.
Well, I was just going to throw it out there that it is really interesting that the United States government has given a lot of these independent contractors millions of dollars in order to help them advance their space flight in the vein that, hey, you give us the results, you give us the data as you continue forward in this space exploration.
What'd you make of it, Scotty?
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah. To give Bezos the same sort of, clout or whatever.
Buzz Aldrin would have kicked his ass.
Yeah, as like astronauts that are, actually going up there. I mean, because like Joe said, I mean, the vehicle's mostly autonomous. It's not like Bezos was actually piloting the thing and controlling it and making sure,
That'd
monitoring.
be terrifying, wouldn't it? Imagine letting him fly anything.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you're just loading a bunch of people into a capsule and then letting the autonomous computer or whatever control everything and take you up there and bring you back down. So, I mean, they weren't really, I would say, contributing much to anything by doing that. And
But wasn't that the same with ground control? With the earlier rocket exploration?
well, I mean, but the astronauts actually had to monitor systems and when they're in orbit and everything, they're in control of the craft, right? I mean, it's not like, I mean, ground control is providing auxiliary support and everything from the ground, but these astronauts have to go through all of this training to know how to control the craft and make sure re-entry is
But
going.
does the advancement of technology preclude them from getting their wings?
I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting question. I guess it's a good debate that we could have in regards to that.
It's still brilliant we're sitting here even having this conversation, though. Because space, it stagnated
is.
for so long. And now we've got multiple companies going up there all the time, up and down. You've got the potential for, they're talking about mining asteroids. And see, this is where we get close to my sci-fi age that I used to dream about. I'm telling you, it's exciting.
It is. And yeah, I was just about to say, I mean, regardless, we now have private entities that are doing this. And sure, right now we're just dealing with billionaires and people who have crap loads of money going up. But I mean, this is the beginnings, this is the beginning of spurring competition within the private sector for space travel, exploration, tourism, whatever. And eventually down the road, years and years from now, that's going to, the cost of that is going to go down and it's going to become more and more affordable for maybe the average person to get a piece of it, So, I mean, right now, like I said, right now we're dealing with the billionaires doing it because they have the money. This is the emerging technology that only they can afford and they can, spend the money on. But down the line, that's going to.
Or is it Ooga Booga, and they're all preparing to get off planet, and we just don't know? And you know what I mean? What's that?
Well, at least Musk doesn't hide it. At least he admits he's trying to get the hell out of here.
But at the same time, you got these tic-tac-toe freaking UFOs and everything else. And you know what, man? I gotta think, at least in my humble opinion, that's just advanced technology that.
Well, look at it. Weigh it up this way, Joe. Right? Either we're saying that there's these advanced species that are coming here, either interdimensionally or by means that we can't work out, and then they just happen to put on visual displays as if they want to be captured by American military gun cameras and
all
sonar.
of a sudden.
Yeah, so is it that? And the government have decided, well, we're going to tell you about this unknown entity because, I mean, historically, governments always tell us the truth. Or we weigh it up against the other side. Could it be advanced technology that they want to show us to scare us into thinking that there's this advanced threat out there coming from aliens, so that what? So that we throw more money into the same programs and projects that's helped to conceptualize and bring about this technology in the first place. Well, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards it being like Joe says, probably things that we already know about at some level. Our technology.
Yeah, but even, and let me give you an example, right? So, a little history lesson. Back in World War II, there was a shortage on gasoline, right? Now, people would say, well, how the hell did they run cars and industry and everything else if you didn't have gasoline? But around that time, the Army Corps of Engineers put out a pamphlet, if you will, on how to build wood gasifiers, which at the time was like, whoa, are you kidding me? What's a wood gasifier? And somebody in the 1940s, a bunch of scientists came up with a way to extract hydrogen from wood to run automobiles on. And basically you just take a hot water heater or some sort of cylinder and put a boiler underneath it. Basically, you put the wood inside the boiler and the wood heats up and the hydrogen's released and it goes into the engine and the engine runs. And people did this during World War II en masse. And we forgot about this, right? Because holy crap, we're running cars on wood? Huh? And the byproduct is what? Charcoal? Huh? Fast forward to today, right? Now, since the 60s, I would say, that was the earliest time I saw any documentation of anybody running like automobiles off of water or other power generating equipment, we'll say. Cummins Corporation recently came out with a machine called an electrolyzer, which is nothing more than an electrolysis machine. But if you take a power source, a renewable power source, let's just say, for example, solar panels, and you take those solar panels and you feed this electrolyzer will take incoming water and it'll split it into hydrogen and oxygen, and you could take that hydrogen and oxygen and you could fill up a hydrogen and oxygen fuel cell, and then you could feed, say, a boiler or something like that that runs a generator a la a turbine to create electricity, and that boiler is running in perpetual motion on nothing but water. And your output, your exhaust, is water. So it's water in, water out. Now, this technology has been proven. It exists. And it just blows my mind. And that's just one technology of many that are out there right now, where you can basically tell George Westinghouse finally after 150 years to go shove it, you know? But that mentality's still really ingrained today. People don't want to commit the resources, at least in corporate America, to that kind of stuff. However, I will say that the consensus is now changing, and it's changing because companies now don't have a choice. They have to move towards this type of technology or they're not going to survive. I mean, it's gotten to that point. So you're seeing more of a push towards green and renewable sources under the guise of carbon reduction, but really it's about corporate survival at this point. That's what it's all about. And I think it's funny, though, how the public is being sold a bill of goods on, well, you know, it's global warming and it's all this carbon. carbon. Yes, we're carbon. It's like, what the hell?
I was watching an actual a conversation between somebody in charge of a company that its sole goal is to get like the world down to net carbon neutral kind of levels and beyond. And I'm thinking, and beyond? But the only thing left after they get done with getting rid of everything else would be us. We're about the only carbon things left after that, you know?
Well, look at Tom Bearden and the work he did with pulling energy from the vacuum. T. Henry Murray, Antoine Priori, all these people that knew and harnessed the technology of longitudinal EM, scalar, right? Scalar, yes. And,
hold on, Joe, hold on. I feel a scalar wave coming into the mix. In fact, it's a scalar break coming our way. So when we come back on the other side, we'll continue this riveting conversation about our very exciting future with all these new technologies that are going to be there for us to play with. It's a new way of looking at the future. Join us after the break. Don't go anywhere. Now, yes, you'll see you won't see there's no music, but you will hear that I'm having to watch the network clock to keep us right tonight with the timings coming back in, back out. So if I seem distracted at times, folks, it's probably because I am. Yes, indeed. So, Nacy, let me come to you. I'm going to keep Joe just where he is. He's absolutely on fire tonight. Just you don't move, Joe. Just stay. Just hold that thought. Nacy, how's your week been, bro?
It has been as fantastic as usual as I'm trying to be the action of the inevitable change where my daughter is turning 18 this weekend.
Oh, lock her up, man. Lock her up. There's creepers like me and Joe out there. Lock her up.
Well, I can't confirm or deny that she has her carry and conceal.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
That's fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like one of these really kind of awkward father-in-laws when she takes a boyfriend home to meet you? Are you going to be like really, really intimidating? Or are you going to play nice cop?
I told her at the beginning, I said, I'm going to have to kill your first partner just on principle alone.
I like that. That sets a good precedent. Yep.
Yep. Notice I said partner because, I don't want,
Because
actually,
you're nice and woke like that. Good for you.
Well, it's not that. I am a man.
It's extremely inclusive. I like that.
Well, I am that I am considered a man, and I know how I am and the other men that I know. So I guess I would rather her be a lesbian than have to deal with us idiots.
Well, that's a very good way of looking at life. I can't disagree with that level of thinking. I like it. I do like it.
But
I
it's her
must admit,
choice.
I'm quite glad I avoided that particular bullet. Like if I had a daughter. Ooh, I know far too many people like me out there, Scotty Lopez. It would be horrible. So when you've got a son and he gets to 19, it's a totally different dynamic,
You can relate.
Yep.
My youngest brother just recently turned 18 as well. So
to be 18 again, man. Oh, wow.
He had to deal with some business with some guy harassing his girlfriend. So business was handled.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
Kansas style.
Uh-huh.
That's what I like to hear, man.
Let's just say there's no more harassment occurring.
Stuff gets handled over there in Kansas, Joe. You see how that works, man? Yeah. Right, hold on. We'll be back in a second, folks. Just get ready to go back to the network. Here we go.
Wow.
Freaky Friday, July 23rd, 2021.
indeed. Welcome back to Freaky Friday.
Yes, indeed. Joseph. Yes, is that a nod of approval there, Joe? Yes, indeed. You like that? We've also got Kev on comms. Kev
Oh,
calling
I
Joe.
love
Kev
it.
calling
Very
Joe.
nice. Very nice.
You
Yes.
like that? Yes. So when it's like DEF CON, like when we're in it, we'll go to live comms. So listen, before the break, you were getting into some really interesting stuff. When I look at the Tic Tac videos, the stuff that we have seen coming out from the Pentagon, I'm excited not because I'm into aliens and UFOs. I'm excited because of the potential propulsion systems that we're looking at.
Yeah, now, remember, back in the 40s, there were the Foo Fighters, right? So Foo Fighters, these orbs, these lit orbs that supposedly the Nazis were flying to harass the B-17 pilots that were going over to bomb Europe. And these were supposedly something akin to Nazi bell-top technology.
Well, look what we can do
You
as
had
well.
the rotating Mercury.
Look what we can do today as well. You've got the Navy. They're able to create balls of plasma using lasers. So, I mean, that's like modern technology, a version of what you're talking about there, Joe. And one thing about that war machine in World War II, they were super, super advanced. Project Paperclip's a thing because they did have some of the brightest kind of people, the ideas, the engineering that was going into all of that. And we talk about the ones like von Braun that went one way. But you also had a whole cadre of them go east as well into Russia. We don't really talk about that too much. So you can see how there's definitely a case to be made for this technology, advanced technology, making its way over to America early.
How far are we now? Look at how far. Just take your iPhone or your cell phone and look back to the time when, if you can remember that, if you're old enough, to when, let's just say it was analog. Okay? That wasn't that long ago, and look at how far it's advanced in such a short period of time. So that's just one technology, but if you take a look at something like a Foo Fighter or anti-grav technology in the 1940s, now if they had that then, where is it now? How advanced is that technology now? It didn't get lost, one. No. Two, someone pushed it forward and advanced it. And if that's the case, and this is what we're seeing in the form of this tic-tac-toe thing, by the way, that was 2014, which in the world of tech is an eternity ago, right? So in 7 years or so, how much farther have they advanced that technology? You know?
Well, I don't know if you might be the perfect one to ask here, actually, because with this kind of advanced technology, we're talking anti-gravitics, we're talking free energy, and you've got to think then, how do they get scientists into these programs, right? Because nobody's writing a thesis about anti-gravitics or anything like that in university. So I was listening to, it's Lex Friedman, whatever you want to call him, and he was talking to a lady on there, and it was really interesting because she was talking about something called the Invisible College. Now, just think about an idea where they being the powers that be, if you want to call them that, people that run these black programs, these labs, they identify people that are really, really kind of standing out, school level, university level. And then what the idea that was put forward was that there's a place, and it's the University of North Carolina, where a lot of these really, really bright people are taken to. And they call this, again, it could be totally wrong, it could be totally bunk, but they call this the Invisible College. Joe's smiling, doesn't know about it, but this is something
I do know about it.
Oh, you do?
There are consistent parallel studies that are not known to the general public that are just going along with other university studies and supported in Black Ops.
Well, so It's not exactly called that. Um, so
A damned good name for it, though, Ian. Oh, come on.
yeah,
The
but you're right.
Invisible
And basically,
College.
what they embed it. They basically embed people, but that's all. If you're at the university level, you're not. That's nothing. That's nothing. That's crap. That's just filler material. I mean, yes, they do some breakthrough stuff. Don't get me wrong, but the real meat and potatoes is the truly black op projects that aren't at universities. They aren't sponsored by any government. They are truly black.
And what they're doing is they're also cherry picking these people from the universities, you know, that
Yes.
have this,
That's
and
exactly right.
they're taken out of the university and then inserted into these black project programs.
Correct.
and
Which are all, by
so
the way, hidden in plain sight.
All the way from elementary school when they do standardized testing, because there's a reason why they do that standardized testing, because they want the brightest. The powers that should not be want the brightest to help the agenda.
You know, Kev, in that case, there's in some cases absolutely, in others, the government at least is short-sighted in that regard. However, it's the entities outside of government that are not, and that's where you find, like, for example, hackers, right? Well, the best hackers, what do? Right? They smoke weed. They're naughty in one way, shape, or form. Well, you can't go work for the NSA and smoke grass. You can't do that. It's outlawed by federal law. You can't do it. So instantly, government hamstrings themselves by denying themselves some of the best hackers on the planet strictly because they smoke grass. Right? It's dumb. It's stupid. That's not what happens. The hackers, where do they go? Well, they go dark, right? That's what they do. They go work in the dark. That's where they go. Same thing with scientists. The real scientists don't work for the government. Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking away anything from anybody that works for the government that is a scientist, because there are a lot of brilliant ones out there. But the real meat and potatoes, the real woo, is not going on in any government facility anywhere. That's not happening. It's hidden in plain sight, probably in your city, and doesn't matter what country you're in, because this stuff is borderless. You got to remember, science is an interesting. It's an interesting bird. Take COVID, for instance. How, well, we don't have any culpability. Why, we never funded any COVID studies.
Yes,
No.
move along, Joe. We're on YouTube.
At any rate, all you can say is, if you follow money wherever it goes, typically it's laundered in one way, shape, or form, right? And it never manifests the way that you might think it does. In this case, it went from a government entity to a nonprofit, then to a place in a far-off land in the East. So that is what you're talking about. That's how they do it. And sometimes it can be laundered 2, 3, 4 times. And sometimes laundering isn't just about money. There's human laundering. There's technological laundering. There's all sorts of different laundering. So it's not just money.
Indeed.
I like throwing a half a cup of vinegar in with my laundry. Helps it get nice and fresh and clean.
Vinegar, you say? I like baking soda, yes.
No, all the essential life hacks are coming out here today. No, but you're right, and think about it as well from a deniability standpoint of view. You know, the fact that you can have these corporations or companies that are unconnected to anything governmental, that gives you a real kind of level of deniability, keeps it off the books. And what Joe's
Yeah.
saying here, when you listen to it, absolutely. These scientists that we're looking for, we've probably never even heard their names. We'll see them on the odd paper peering here and there. We'll probably see them in the patents. But it's not the ones that they're rolling about on TV. It's not the ones that are kicking about on YouTube either, unfortunately. Need to know basis, and a lot of these people, they understand.
Many of the real
They
smart ones, Kev,
understand, you know.
many
I
of the real
shared-
smart ones, many of the real smart ones that actually crack these codes and do these things, they're not people persons, if you will. You know what I mean? Yeah.
When I've shared this before, when I got out of the military in '89, that I was shipboard communications. You know, like with Kev. You know, he knows about communications and radio waves. Right? International Morse code. Yep. But so we were shipboard communications where we're sending and receiving messages, and it's at the dawning of the whole computer age. So I get on the ship and I get taught how to utilize these, these computers. I get out of the military and I'm thinking computers are the next best thing. I'm going to go into computers. So I went to one of the local brand new computer schools, and I go in there and I'm appalled by these computers. They sucked compared to what I was working on. And I asked the people at the school, is this it? And then it was frustrating because I'm like, they didn't match the computers I had while in the military. And then when I got sick, I went back into the educational system. This is in the mid to late 90s. And then they're all like, okay, so now you got to go on the internet. You got to get an email. You have to utilize the internet to send and receive test and schooling and that. And so all of a sudden, right away, being of communications, I'm like, what is the security of that? And then I started digging into the whole security of the internet. And then you find out, this is back when you learn about the NSA. We have not known about the NSA for a long period of time. It wasn't in general public knowledge, and it's one of the oldest alphabet agencies there. And the NSA, they are involved in any kind of internet. And so then anything on the internet, they have the advanced ability to get it. And once you are a hacker, then they will either try to turn you or you get in trouble or be made of an example of. So we're I feel we're constantly going to be battling that technological superiority, because as we started at the beginning of the show, when we talk about space exploration, we keep thinking about it, that ability to go out into the universe by what kind of technology? Our technology, or when we get into electromagnetic technology? Because if you look at the basic principles of a magnet, it pushes and pulls. And so if you can find out what the magnetory frequency of the Earth is, and you create the opposite polarity of it, you're instantly pushed off the planet. It's that simple. So where do we go from here, gentlemen?
Oh, there's a perfect article to segue into here, right? Because Joe, you had dropped something about electromagnetism into the conversation here, right? And now Joe's just pretending he never heard, so I've got it here. And let me bring it up. It says electromagnetism is a property of space-time itself.
I love
Study
it.
finds. So I'm not going to read all of
You
this.
have hey, you have a great accent. Did I ever tell you that?
Don't play to my ego. Although Dave says keep it coming. So imagine if we could use strong electromagnetic fields to manipulate the properties of space-time. Isn't that exactly what they're alleged to have done at the Philadelphia experiment, right? Literally.
Yes.
So this could have important ramifications in terms of science and engineering. Electromagnetism has always been a subtle phenomenon. In the 19th century, scholars thought that electromagnetic waves must propagate in some sort of elusive medium, which was called ether. Later, the ether hypothesis was abandoned, and to this day, the classical theory of electromagnetism does not provide us with a clear answer to the question in which medium electric and magnetic fields propagate in the vacuum. On the other hand, the theory of gravitation is rather well understood and very much overrated, if you ask me. Now, I don't know who's scraping in the background or drinking or something, but mute up before I kick everyone off. Many eminent mathematical physicists have tried to understand electromagnetism directly as a consequence of general relativity. And the brilliant mathematician Hermann Weyl had especially interesting theories in this regard. The Serbian inventor and man-god Nikola Tesla thought that electromagnetism contains essentially everything in our universe. So what is the mutual relationship of electromagnetism and gravitation? We provide one possible explanation to the riddle. We love a good riddle on Freaky Friday. Maxwell's equations are the key linear partial differential equations that describe classical electromagnetism. The equations relate the electromagnetic field to currents and charges. Now, on the other hand, in general relativity, the Einstein field equation is a set of nonlinear partial differential equations describing how the metric of space-time evolves, given some conditions such as mass density in the space-time. Now, both equations are ultimately of second order if seen properly. Therefore, we thought that perhaps we are talking about the same governing equation, which could describe both electromagnetism and gravitation. Indeed, it becomes clear that Maxwell's equations hide inside the Einstein field equations of general relativity. The metric tensor of spacetime tells us how lengths determine in spacetime. The metric tensor also thus determines the curvature properties of spacetime, and curvature is what we feel as force. In addition, energy and curvature, ladies and gentlemen, curvature, great, the curve, gotta love the curve, relate to each other through the Einstein field equations. Test particles follow what are called geodesics. The shortest...
One second. Did you say curve?
I did say curve, Joe. Yes, I love the curve. We
Very
love
good.
the
Just
curve.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we're curvists on here.
Especially ones of the exponential type.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely, Scott. We did partake in a lot of exponential curvature.
Very nice.
So it says the link between general relativity and electromagnetism becomes clear by assuming that the so-called core potential of electromagnetism directly determines the material properties of the space-time. So in particular, our research shows how electromagnetism is an inherent property of space-time itself, because it's probably an electromagnetic universe, but hey, in a way, space-time itself is therefore the ether. Electric and magnetic fields represent certain local tensions or twists. This is brilliant because this is really electric universe stuff.
Electric universe, yeah, that's kind of why I sent it to you.
Yeah. So it says our research shows that the Langrerian of electrodynamics is just the Einstein-Hilbert action of general relativity. It reveals how Maxwell's equations of electromagnetism are an optimally condition for the metric of space-time to be sufficiently flat. And we don't do flat. As Einstein's theory of general relativity provides that the metric is optimal in a sense, electromagnetism is hidden in the non-linear differential equations of general relativity. On the other hand, this means that general relativity is a generalized theory of non-linear electromagnetism. We're almost there, folks. Generally, yes. John Wheeler, the famous physicist, put forward the idea that all of the material world is constructed from the geometry of space-time. our research strongly supports this kind of natural philosophy. It means that the material world always corresponds to some geometric structures of space-time. I like this. Tensions in space-time manifest themselves as electric and magnetic fields. Moreover, electric charges relates to some compressibility properties of space-time. Electric currents seem to be a rebalancing object, which transports charge in order to keep the space-time manifold Ricky flat. This is aesthetically pleasing, as nature seems to strive for harmony, efficiency, and simplicity, and we see that all around us, folks. It says, although our theory shows that Maxwell's equations are a condition for the space-time to be Ricky flat, I don't know what that Ricky flat is, electromagnetic fields do seem to cause special curvature in space-time nevertheless. And the relevant curvature is what is known as differential geometry as the Weyl curvature. And Weyl curvature in space-time is the local curving of space-time in such a way that locally volumes are preserved. It's a special kind of stretching and bending of space-time. So we believe that empirical research on this topic is important. This means measuring the local curvature of space-time when there are strong electromagnetic fields present. Perhaps one could use, for example, superconducting coils and laser light to measure any deviations in the fabric of space-time. Artificial modifying of space-time could have extensive benefits in the field of engineering, for example. And finally, it's worth mentioning that our approach has the benefit of simplicity. We do not need extra dimensions, torsion tensors, asymmetric metric tensors, or the like. And that really is, if you are somebody that's looked into the whole electric universe, there's a lot of stuff in there that makes a lot of sense. And Joe is just determined to try and knock me off my reading, but no, I got there.
Damn it.
So, what do you make of this then? Because I like anything electric universe.
Yeah.
Do you know why I like it? Because you can almost recreate in the lab what we see out there in the cosmos, what you see in the Hubble. You can recreate it with charge, plasma, and I don't know how it's taken so long for us to kind of shift our theories. But that said, speaking to Dr. Brian Keating, he is somebody, an astrophysicist. When it comes to dark matter, dark matter, it just makes up the math, right? And you might think we talk about science and the fact that they rigidly stick to things even when they know it's probably wrong. But that whole dark matter, dark energy thing, that's really up in the air right now. And they're having a good rethink about all of these kind of things. So possibly we might get a little closer to realizing we're in an electric universe. Hopefully.
Well, and that of course plays in line with the holographic universe. When you think about in the beginning there was the Word. Okay, well, prior to hitting execute or enter, whoop, there was the Word, there was the program, and then whoop, there it is, Big Bang.
I always look at word as like a vibration as well, like a frequency,
Yeah, but even so, data is transmitted via a frequency, via a signal, via an electrical signal. And that's why when you say that, it makes perfect sense, because that's how we have what we're seeing on our screen, and when we watch a movie or even a hologram now, it's the same thing. It's data. It's data being projected or being interpreted by a machine and then projected. However, it's still a data stream, and that data stream still exists at every second, every millisecond, every nanosecond. And who knows? I mean, we could debate this from now till we're blue in the face, but you could have simulations within simulations within simulations.
We're
within
building our own simulations already, so we can see we're doing
right.
that. Yep.
So, I mean, is that out of the realm of possibility? Is that, I think it's very possible, quite frankly.
Cycles within the cycles, wheels within wheels. You can't get any more simpler than positive, neutral, and negative. And when we come together and we make the conclusion that this end is positive and this end is negative, and then we work within that. If you think of a circle, and on the circle you have one side and then the other side. Well, your perspective, my perspective. But the powers that should not be have the entire circle figured out. And we don't realize that in the center of that circle, it's really just a funnel. And we're all just going down in it.
Yeah, indeed. And hey, back to this article, though. I mean, I think it's very, very interesting, right? I mean, it does seem to
hold that
really...
thought, Scotty. Hold that thought. We are going to the break, and then we'll be back for hour number 2. Don't go anywhere, folks. There we go. Perfect timing again. Oh, 5 seconds to spare. Whoa. Just caught us there, boys. Just caught us there. Yes. Indeed.
Sorry about that drink. I don't know what happened to my phone, but...
No, you're just determined for everyone to hear you drinking. I know what you're like, dude. You like to share your eating. You like to, I get you, Nacy.
If you ask the Discord people, I've really critically started checking myself with all of that.
Joe, do you know what he would do? He would eat like dry crackers. Crackers, Joe. Imagine crackers into a microphone.
For real, dude?
Yeah, for real, man. For real.
Glazed potato chips.
No, I would not eat such a thing.
That was bad.
But Joe, you should go on the disco. But in my defense, it is my label that is over the door. And I've asked many times, does this bother anybody? And usually they're like, nah.
Because they're too polite. So, I've known you way too long to be nice to you.
Well, I love it. Rub my nose in it, brothers. Keep me on check, because I'll do the same, right? Left,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Left.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, I got to apologize to you. I'm sorry, sir. I lied to you last week when we were talking about the Bible, and I said I've read it cover to cover. That is not accurate, because I can't remember if it's Leviticus. Is that the chapter where it tells about all the do's and all the don'ts?
Oh, you mean the Mosaic Law? Yeah, that's Leviticus, yeah.
That, I don't know if I was conscious while reading that, or if I just kind of skimmed over that part.
I don't think anybody was, quite frankly.
So I just had to correct myself.
Honestly, I don't think Moses was.
Oh, and the burning bush, right?
Oh, no, when he was writing Leviticus.
PPP, the burning bush.
No, not that one. When he was writing Leviticus, no PPP, burning bush.
Mm-hmm.
There was none of that. Damn, dude.
I'm sure there was plenty of that, but I'm saying that, not for Moses.
Here's a question for you, though, Joe.
Quickly, on you go.
So before the word, doesn't there have to be the thought and then the agreement that when the word comes out, there's people that are going to be able to understand it?
I'll have to kill you.
Yeah,
sorry.
You see what they say. What? Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Never work with children, animals, and Joe Joseph. That's the 3 rules of podcasting, ladies and gentlemen.
Wookiees. It wasn't me.
Hey,
What are
listen,
you-
the Wookiee's gone on holiday, listen. It's just crickets, man. It's just crickets.
Lies.
It's just crickets. It's just crickets, Joe. What can I say? So
I just heard the Wookiee doing karaoke. Are you kidding me?
Well, I heard your really demented version of a Wookiee doing karaoke. So, Joe, may I ask him, how is the brain this evening? A big shout out to
she's
Joe's
doing
brain.
She's doing quite how can I say? Well, not good. Not. I don't know. She
You sounded
survived.
very
That's
cheerful
all.
before the show. I must admit, it was great to hear from your brain again. For people out there,
Yes.
we're not talking in some kind of crazy coded language. It's Joe's wife, the amazing Ange. I want to give a big shout out to Ange in the background for allowing us this valuable time with Joe Joseph. I mean, come on. Doesn't get much better than this, right? Guys, where do we want to go? Because I have got an article. Oh, Mr. Lopez, it's you. You're
All
up.
right.
My bad.
Oh, no. Well, no, going back to the electromagnetism thing, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? And it seems to really kind of validate a lot of the whole electric universe stuff. I mean, it to me, it just seems like a much more logical way of looking at things, because it just seems to make a lot more sense, right? And I mean, obviously, the more you crank up an electromagnetic field, it's going to do what? Distort space-time, right? I mean, so yeah, I mean, it seems to be totally tied in and an essential kind of. It seems to be at the core of everything. So, I'm just totally on board with that. I think I think they're going in the right direction if they're starting to talk about it in those terms.
Makes you wonder as well. We were talking about the technologies, advanced technologies. And I wonder, as we do start to open up these new technologies, do they then move us towards the ether, the electromagnetic kind of free energy universe that we are living in? I don't know. Again, a lot of people look at the times that we're living in now as being terrible and awful, and they are. But at the same time, I look at it very, very positively as well. And I think when we come out the end of all of this, be it 5-10 years from now, sure, the world's going to look a lot different, but there's going to be good things happening as well. And I know people are going to hate me for saying that, but that's okay, because it's just how I honestly feel. And when it comes to this kind of stuff, the technologies, the new information that might just be around the corner, that excites me. That does excite me,
I also think that there has to be this, well, at least in their mind or whatever, there has to be this time frame in which a lot of these entities can shift their. Because look, with a lot of this technology, especially when it comes to like free energy and stuff, it's not something you can monetize, right? It's not something that can be utilized for profit, but they also can't keep us, in this old way of doing things. They can only do that for so long. Like Joe said, this is an inevitable thing where they're going to have to move to these new technologies, because it's going to be ridiculous if it's like the year 21 something and we're still using gas powered engines. That's not gonna, we have to move on from things like that. And so I think a lot of these companies and stuff that are invested, in like the oil industry and all of that, they're gonna find their new way of making profit from something else. It's just they're having to kind of game plan and figure out what they're going to do in order to be able to maintain at least their profit flow, while at the same time these technologies that come out that are really kind of groundbreaking come to the forefront. So we're eventually going to see it. It's just going to be this delayed thing while they're reshifting their priorities as well. And I think that's kind of the direction we're going to be going.
Well, I would think that the biggest argument that they're having is how much do they divulge to the rest of the people of where it's still economically feasible that they're going to continue power and control.
That's the thing. I think those are the discussions that they are having, because remember, right? They think in 50, 100 year time frame periods. They're not thinking in this short-sighted, what are we going to do here within the next 5 years? It's how are things going to evolve with over the next 100 years or so. So I totally think that they are having those discussions. I agree.
I can't wait until they get the electromagnetic anti-gravity type of wheelchair, right, Scotty?
Oh, dude. Yeah, we'll be buzzing around, man.
It would be that choice, or let's just replace your leg with the Chimera. Weren't you going to get this?
But did either of you guys start out today by asking your wheelchairs if they even consent to being wheelchairs? No, you didn't think of that. Did you ask your wheelchair if it still even identifies as a wheelchair? No. See, you're not doing this woke thing well enough. And I tell you what,
seems
folks,
like you're very, very insensitive and inflexible when it comes to.
Well, it's because of this. Look, Panpsychism. Listen, boys.
Kev. Yes, please educate me. Let me know. I need to understand.
Everything is conscious. Everything is conscious, right? And I'm having a bit of a laugh and a joke, but if everything is conscious and the way the world is today, I honestly can envisage a really dystopic future where you might well have to ask the table if it consents to you putting your dinner on it. Because if it's conscious, after all, I mean, how do you know? You might be violating the table's rights. In fact, who asked the wood if it consented to be made in a table in the first place, right? If you're going to go woke, you have to go full woke, Joe. So I'm taking it too far. But panpsychism, the idea that inanimate objects have consciousness, gains steam in science communities. And if I've learned anything about science from my good friend, Dr. Kevin W. McCairn, it's that science has been totally gutted and subverted, and it's a woke-topia crap show. So it might sound a bit out there, me like saying to Kev and Scott, does your wheelchair consent to you sitting in it? But if these people had their way, that's exactly the kind of weird wonderland we'll be living in, folks. So thoughts, Joe? You're nodding, you're agreeing with me kind of tentatively. Even as cold-hearted as insensitive as I am.
I know, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific that we're even going there. Now, that's not to say, like, perhaps a Venus flytrap. That may have consciousness or feelings or something, or maybe a tree. Yeah, I don't know, But there's some sort of life there. There's some sort of cellular activity there that we can quantify and say, okay, well, maybe there's that.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I was just taking it to the extreme because I know how infiltrated science is with these wokies. So
yeah, dude. How do you take science political like that? You know what I mean? It just doesn't, or PC. I just don't. But we did.
We will need to get my good friend.
We
will need to get my good friend, the world-renowned misogynist neuroscience. According to Nature publication, the misogynist neuroscientist Kevin McCairn. You'll love him, Joe. Oh, you'll love him. We'll get him on a Freaky Friday.
My ancestors would talk about animate and inanimate in a way of denotating things. And it's really interesting. Like if you think of a drum, they would say that a drum is an animate object because it creates vibration. And the biggest distinguish between animate and inanimate is how readily is the vibration of the thing, of how you can detect it. So it's really interesting where this newer society, where seemingly they are so in the need or want of having a label, not only for themselves, but for something else. And I've explained to my daughter, where it's like, if we subscribe to a label that's put out there, then we will have a challenge with meeting another entity that has their own definition of what a label is. And someone like me, I'm 54 years old now, so I was told, and we right now there's this phrase where, I haven't talked to you in a minute. Well, I was taught that a minute is 60 seconds. And now people are utilizing a minute to be like years. So it's this constant transformation of words, of labels, that I think is more psychological warfare for the whole social stress of keeping us oscillating back and forth, instead of stepping back and being like, oh, look, we're all part of the same thing, and we're getting all wrapped up about semantics.
Indeed.
Yeah. And you know what is making me think of? This whole panpsychism thing, right? Where inanimate objects supposedly could be conscious or whatever. I mean, it in a way, it makes me think about some of the Eastern religions, right? Like Shintoism in Japan, right? Where they believe that like robotic dogs and like robots and stuff have a soul essentially, or alive, and they treat them like with the same respect as with a human or something like that. So, I mean, we may be talking about this in the context of, woke culture and whatnot, but I mean, there is this belief though in certain, religions and stuff like that. I mean, I remember this whole thing where, I don't know what company it was. It might have been like, I don't know if it was Samsung or something like that. I don't know. But they had made this robotic dog that was real popular in Japan, like back in the mid 2000s, early 2000s. And it was a big deal. A lot of people bought them and stuff. And then they discontinued, eventually over the years, they discontinued support for it, like to repair it or anything like that. And people were like actually really distraught because like if their little robotic dog broke down, they literally thought, well, okay, he's going to die, because they had that mindset that this robotic dog was an entity, right? Like a conscious entity. And so this huge thing blew up in Japan where you had kind of like this whole underground market of these repair shops repairing these dogs for people, and people were demanding that the company basically provide unlimited support, for forever, however long people owned these things. And it was kind of wild, So yeah, I mean, this panpsychism thing, it's a thing. It's a thing, and I think that's why you see a lot of
let's take a look at it, because you're right, and it ties in with this. And listen, folks, I took it to the extreme for a reason, because it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope, especially when it's greased with wokeness. That's all I'm gonna say, right? That's all I'm gonna say. It says here.
Can we go further? Oh, sorry.
On you go.
So what if we go further there, where we're playing video games, and in the video games there are entities that are created, whether they be humanoid or alien or stuff. What if they go so far that they say, hey, you can't play that video game because in that video game you are killing a creation of 0 and 1s that's represented in your virtual screen.
Who knows, dude? It wouldn't surprise me anymore. Nothing surprises me.
I mean, that already kind of exists
Yeah,
in a
I was
way.
going to say that because they try and like say that it's ridiculous. Why are we even entertaining it?
Well, I mean, I was to say I'm gonna have to go back east again. You know how popular those what they're called Vocaloids? Have you seen those, Kev?
Yep.
And they're like basically little anime girls or whatever, and they sell them in little projection boxes and things like that. And people actually, treat these.
Used to be a word for
Treat
this.
anime.
It used to be a word for it. Insane. Insane. So it says here, Dr. Martin Picard, and I just looked. He's no relative of Jean-Luc. He might be actually. I didn't look too far into the future. I need to keep expanding that. So Dr. Martin Picard is an associate professor at Starfleet, at Behavioral Medicine at Columbia University, Irvine Medical Center, specializing in both psychiatry and neurology. Oof. That's a double act right there. Wouldn't like to be locked in a study with this guy. So together, expertise in these two fields suits one well to understanding the essence of what makes one human. Picard is particularly knowledgeable about mitochondria, the structure found within nearly all cells that have a nucleus. They provide most of the chemical energy that cells use in their various biochemical tasks, and some are likened to batteries. Picard sees something else in mitochondria too. Last year, he and a Swiss scientist named Dr. Carmen Sandy published a paper in the Journal of Neuroscience and Behavioral Reviews, which posited that mitochondria do not merely keep us alive, but in many ways have lives of their own, and perhaps are even social creatures. Oh my. So societally, or sociality has profound evolutionary roots and is observed from unicellular organisms to multicellular animals, Picard and Sandy write. In line with the view that social principles apply across levels of biological complexity, a growing body of data highlights the remarkable social nature of mitochondria. It loves to go to a good party on the weekend. So they continue, similar to individuals among social networks, mitochondria communicate with each other and with the cell nucleus, exhibit group formation and interdependence, synchronize their behaviors, and functionally specialize to accomplish specific functions within the organism. Mitochondria are social organelles. Of course, if mitochondria are conscious beings, God forbid, that would mean we have trillions and trillions of these brainless beings chilling out in literally every cell in our bodies. That idea may seem absurd until you consider a scientific concept which could explain it. Panpsychism, or the idea that consciousness is inextricably linked to all matter and simply grows stronger as a physical object becomes more complex. So boil that down, guys. The more complex...
So consciousness is gravity.
Basically, consciousness comes as a result of any system that you put together. The more complex it is, the more conscious it gets.
And the more consciousness you get, and that's like gravity. So the bigger the body, the more gravity. I got you.
It is what it is. Are we wanting to go further with this?
No.
Wasn't it Qui-Gon Jinn in episode 1 when Anakin was conceived from the metachlorides? Wouldn't that be the same thing?
Hmm?
Are we getting some? Are we going deep Star Wars here? Because I'm more a Star Trek dude. You've lost me. I'm a Trekkie. Yep.
Well, it would be more or less the consciousness of Q. If you remember Q.
Yes, the time continuum, dude.
Yes, that wasn't that his claim that he was the consciousness of the whole continuum.
Yeah, he was a strange one.
Yeah.
Strange one. Good character, though. Good character.
But
I
the
actually just
beauty
watched the
is-
one today where his son is aboard the Enterprise with Captain Janeway. She has to put up with his son for an episode. Yes, the first child conceived in the continuum. Hey, it is what it is. I like about Star Trek, Scott. Come on, don't get me started. Don't send me down this road.
Well, with all of the junk food and PPP and everything that I have consumed over the years, I feel horrible because my mitochondria never consented to that. I never once asked them if.
Do you feel bad? You should.
Yeah. Sorry, mitochondria. I should have asked first. I should have asked for consent.
Yes. Yeah. How come you aren't being more sensitive to your mitochondria?
I know they're so social creatures.
Mitochondria lives matter. I'll be there. Power to the mitochondria.
The moment that they have the ability to make their grievances abundant, it's going to be like on the Marvel Universe in Endgames when everybody just poofed into like a powder, because all of a sudden those particulates of you are going to say like, I've had enough. And they all just
it's funny. On the one side, Kev, you talked about electric universe and evolving into the electromagnetic universe, kind of, But these people are trying to go backwards. They're trying to go like base level. We don't have the brains; it's our mitochondria that do. I'm like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Because
like,
you're
how
not
is
woke
this
enough.
even allowed to be happening? What happened? What happened to a good old fashioned ass kicking?
Oh, dude, that went out in like the late 90s, from what I remember.
I mean, damn, bro. I mean, some people just need to get their ass kicked. Like this person here. This person that wrote this article needs to get like an atomic wedgie. No shit. Because it is just the most god-awful, ridiculous damn thing I have ever heard in my life.
If you're going to give him an atomic wedgie, you need to ask his underwear if it consents to it first, okay?
Very true.
Because it's probably freaking conscious, right? That and the skid mark.
So here it says, hence panpsychism. The idea that all matter in general is conscious, regarding of whether it's an organism or
Along
not.
with the skid mark on my fruit of loom.
Well, there you go. There you go. Did the skid mark even consent to being conceived in your pants? You see, this is how ridiculous it gets. You see what I'm saying? Did you ask your Richard III if it would like to
Richard III,
donate a little part of its mitochondria to your creation of the Skidus Marcus, to give it its proper Latin term?
Yes, it all goes back to Latin.
Damn, dude. Damn, how did we get here? Listen, let's throw in a time travel.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why we got here.
Well, your mommy and your daddy got together.
On that. I mean, that was nuts. Who in their right mind? But at the same time, it's like woke science. Like, do we not get enough of that crap when it's shoved down our throat and TV and all this other crap, or whatever website you want to go peruse? It doesn't matter. It's all just BS. And now you get that. It's like, come on, man. There was just a tic-tac-toe thing 7 years ago, but we just found out about it when? Like a year ago or so? There's a tic-tac-toe thing that's like defying gravity and everything else. And
it's not the important thing that people want to know how it identifies.
No,
what's its pronouns, Joe? What's its pronouns? Does it identify as a he, a she, a they, an it? What do we call it?
Who gives a shit?
That's what would happen, Imagine it, aliens turn up, and our top scientists will all be sitting there arguing about how they address the aliens when they get off the ship. Do we like introduce ourselves as he, him, and and she, her. And
Could you imagine? Dude, they would probably like vaporize us instantly. I wouldn't blame any alien race if if it does exist. I don't blame you right now if you vaporize us, because at this point we deserve it. Humanity, it deserves it.
I can picture the alien stepping off the ship and going, "Greetings, humans," and then you have some like purple-haired chimera creature. You don't identify as a human. Why did you call me a human? You know, blah blah blah. And then they're all arguing about like why the alien called us humans, and so
you're probably
I still
right.
can't get past. I still can't get past the galactic debate of the three entities that are like, and it translates to the humans are going to get it. They're gonna get humane. They're gonna get their act together.
We're gonna wrap up because we're right on the break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere, folks. Sorry, Nacy. I cut it down to we had 3 seconds to spare this time. 3 seconds.
That wasn't bad though. I mean, you did get most of your thought out, which was good.
Not too bad.
Bing bong.
Yes, indeed. So there you go. There you go.
Okay, so seriously,
would a rock or a table? Would a rock or a table?
Then, if this is true, if it is true, then we should be able to go into negotiation with Mars, the planet Mars, to take all the billionaire scumbags and house them over there. We should be able to negotiate something with the planet Mars then, because Mars is sentient then, technically, and has feelings.
The entities there, they won't take them.
Why not?
Because they'll say they're your own problem. You deal with them.
No, there's always a price. We can figure something out.
Unless we taste like chicken.
Well, maybe they do. Although I'll bet you Bezos is more gamey than normal.
Look.
In a Jeffrey Dahmer kind of way, I'm just saying.
No extracurricular carnivore activities.
Look, Joe. Not everybody likes to have another person's trash dumped on their property, right?
I get it.
Yeah.
Was it Superman 4 the one where they take all the nukes and throw them into the sun, or try to?
Listen to this. I never thought I'd read such a sentence in all my life. Oh my God. Do a chair, a pair of pants, and a rock have the capacity to think as a human, a dog, and a pig? What about more primitive organisms such as bacteria and viruses?
See?
You see, we
Do
can't.
you see?
You see, this is a slippery slope.
I told you, Joe.
I like it.
Told you. The underwear needed to consent to the atomic wedgie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it all comes down to it, we are just not sensitive enough.
No, you're right. You're right. We're coming back in a second, so bear with me, troops. Bear with me. Deary me. Time travelers next.
Yeah, okay, we can do that.
It's about time.
Oh, I like it.
Oh.
Illusion is real. Freaky Friday. Can you handle the woo?
Did you discuss it? Because it has feelings.
Yeah, the woo did not consent to being on the broadcast yet. Be careful. Your mind.
Oh, wrong one, wrong one.
There we go. There we go. We're back. We're live. Just. Yes, indeed. And I think we're still in the same year that we started. I say
is that right?
because now we're going into the weird and wacky and wonderful, wonderful world of 2027. The time traveler returns. I blame Scott's mum. She's the one that threw this into my consciousness.
I can't believe it. And then somehow it was like it ping-ponged off Kev to me. And here is the article. And of course, I have to sometimes go and dig deep for these things, Kev. I have to dig deep into academic sources.
I know you do, dude. I know the red tops of the UK is like, wow. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That shows like you're scientific now, dude. Not everyone goes to these places, you know? That's
so
tough, man.
time traveler, in quotation marks. It's very, very important. That means, what does that mean in lingo with the quotation marks?
Questionable. That's what it means. Go. Very questionable.
Okay, bizarrely claims he's stuck in 2027 and warns of human extinction because no one is around, folks. They're all gone.
Technically, humans aren't extinct if he's there.
That's right. Javier, a user on TikTok, says he found himself in 2027, but there are no people left. Only abandoned building and cars. He goes by the name of Unico Sobreviviente. Hey, or the only survivor. He's been sharing the video since February 13th when he first showed a supposedly desolate Valencia in Spain. Now, despite the lack of people and electricity and, the internet and everything else, all the utilities, the fact that you need people to operate utilities, but they all seem to be working still, even though there are no people. Mind you, 2027 is only 6 years away. I doubt that the power companies, the water utilities have fully automated and gone autonomous. Now, just because you go automated, here's the difference. This is where everybody gets kind of wacky, right? Autonomous means no human intervention, means it's thinking for itself, you know? When you make something, when you automate something, that requires human interface. Even though it's automated, it can't adjust for things. So you need the human to interface. So that's very kind of important here because where industry is right now, it's not going to go autonomous in 6 years. So here is Javier in 2027, conveniently in a dimension where there are no people. However, all of your utilities, all conveniences are gone. They've gone fully autonomous. So it is the fully autonomous universe with no humans. He says, I just woke up in a hospital and I don't know what might have happened. Today is February 13th, 2027, and I am alone in the city. Humanity has been extinct, he says. There's no one in shopping centers. Before the video cuts to an empty clothing shop. But the shelves seem to be surprisingly fully stocked with clothes. The following day, Javier asked his friends and followers for help. I'm trying. I keep trying to find human life. I'm starting to lose hope. Today I got something to eat. How long is this going to last? Even though, A&A's deli down on the corner.
So food hasn't gone rotten. We're all good.
Yeah, I'm going to go get a roast beef sandwich, even though nobody been here in a while. It's all good because everything's in stasis. Not. Anyway, he says, how long is it going to last? Mention in the comments who might be able to help me. What? Okay. When asked by users how there's still lights and internet access, he says he didn't know, but most likely there's a type of connection between 2021 and 2027.
How
This sounds
convenient.
eerily familiar to the science of panpsychism.
Panpsychism. Yeah. So are you not buying it then, Joe? Am I detecting you're not a buyer?
How can I not? Wait, how can I not? I can't do it. There's no way I can possibly believe it. It's 4 Pinocchios. Go
I
on.
feel like I'm in a time continuing loop or having deja vu.
Yeah.
Because, but it's interesting. February 13th, 2027 is a Saturday.
Yes.
So how is he going into these office buildings and stuff? Because from what I know, most office buildings aren't open on Saturdays. Of course, there are anomalies.
Fully autonomous dimension. They're open all the time. And it's always sunny.
That's one of the things that I do have a problem explaining away. One of the ones that Scott sent to me was a video of the guy going into what appeared to be, well, what was one of the Valencia police stations. Now, he was able to get through the front gate. That's cool, that's okay. He went inside the building, he opened the back door, and then he just went up nonchalantly to one of the police cars, opened that up, sat in it, fiddled about with things, and I'm thinking, well, as much as I think this is a spoof, how do you get away with that? And how do you get access to a lot of the places where he appears to be getting access to? So although I'm skeptical, although I'm not buying that the guy's in 2027, I still find it thoroughly intriguing whatever's going on.
Hey, Uncle Jose, mind if I come around and play down in the 3rd precinct? Or how about Javier is could be a cop, maybe a past cop.
Absolutely, and we've just had
Didn't
major
quite make it,
lockdowns,
didn't
right?
push out. Maybe
So
families
listen,
in law.
we've had major lockdowns. It doesn't mean the streets are totally deserted, but it does mean that it's probably a lot easier for one of the Adobe software suites to come into play, where you can remove objects. And I watched a video. Again, doesn't disprove what this guy's claiming, but the technology's out there where you could film yourself walking down a busy street and then just outline what you want taken out, and content aware, it'll fill in what should be there behind it, and it looks mint. So for me, again, I hate being skeptical, Scott. You know what? I don't like that I've become this skeptical idiot, this shadow of a man that Kev Baker used to be. But I can't buy it, dude. I just can't, and it hurts me because this is like your mum's woo. So it's a double kick in the stones for me.
It's very simple, and hey, first of all, mom shouldn't feel bad, but this is something that people commonly do. Just listen to it. Step back, listen to it, look at it, and think about it. Think about what happens. Think about what happens when we shut our main breaker off in our house and sit on the couch. Right? And how our life goes, right? Even though no one's there, or it just seems, you seem isolated, your life goes whoop upside down. Everything starts to rot instantly, right? Just saying. Now, how in the hell is all that stuff just going to go on ad nauseum like that? It doesn't happen. Rapture? No, not rapture, not happening. So I don't see that. It's not good.
No. In all seriousness, I really don't know. I don't think I really buy really too much into it.
It's a clever one.
To use the phrase from a great philosopher, a great philosopher by the name of Mr. Joe Joseph.
Uh-oh.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Damn it! I know, but I'll tell you, it's a good. It's not even a good story. It's bad because it just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. That's not a hard one to say. You're an asshole.
But in the year 2021, millions of people are buying into this. It's amazing what you'll get away with.
Too, Kev.
Yes, it's amazing what you'll get away with in the year 2021.
Now,
let me throw this out there though. Let me throw this out there. Since we've touched on the topic of panpsychism, maybe he's really not alone. Look at all those inanimate objects around him.
Yes.
Great call,
Right?
Scott Lopez.
Think about all those. Think about all those Tide Pods that were viciously bit into without their consent. I'm just saying.
Although I would imagine the Tide Pods probably looked at each other and said, well, if it in any way gets rid of any of these fools, I consent wholeheartedly. Eat me. Just eat me.
George Carlin said it once, maybe the kid who puts the most marbles in his mouth should not reproduce.
Well, you see, wise man once said, I like that.
I figured it out, Kev. I figured it out. The Tide Pods conspired. This was a plot.
Oh, did they try and launch an attack?
They were communicating
with the mitochondria.
Yeah. And the Tide Pods were like, this is it. This is our time. It's time to strike.
They started throwing themselves down the throats of humans. Damn, this is a good movie. And the people that did suffer, they didn't actually suffer. They got transported to 2032, where they're all making videos, but they can't send them back here because the connections to I don't know, 2150.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Okay, you give me a timeline of 2150 and everything stays status quo. Yeah, okay. Yeah, autonomy by then and okay, fine. Give it 20 years. Give it 20 years. But the fact of the matter is humanity's too greedy, right? Humans are too self-centered and too greedy to come together to say, let's all sing Kumbaya and make the world autonomous. It doesn't work that way. General intelligence isn't going to be here, at least for us, in quite some time. Would you agree, Kev?
Totally agree.
I'm also going to throw a few things out here to poo-poo our time traveler story. If he was in the year 2027, how come all of the cars that are out there are 2021 models and below? When you expect to see some model of car out there that we
not
haven't
if the world
yet?
ended in 2021.
Okay.
So it actually supports his theory if you believe he's in the year 2027. You see, there's a lot of steps you have to take to get to that position first. So, but I hear you. So let me ask you another question then, Scott. I'll come to you first. Is there any story that you can think of that has gripped your attention, i.e. time travel? I think of we've got Andrew Bishago, we've got John Teeter, we've got the Apex children over in Australia. Is there any, do you think, and even if there's not, do you think will we do that in our future? Can we do that?
Well, to your first question, I was always fascinated by the whole John Teeter thing. I think that's kind of the classic time traveler. Yeah, good story with that one.
Classic Art Bell radio.
In that case, Joe's quote does ring true. Don't let the facts get in the way of good story, because boy, the John Teeter thing was a pretty damn good story. So, the John Teeter thing really interesting. I think it's possible. I think it eventually will be possible, but I think the limitations to that are going to be, if you're going to travel to another time, you're entering another timeline, or you're creating another timeline. So you're really not having an effect on the timeline that you're leaving. That's going to continue to go on, right? That's not going to change in any way. It's not like you're going to go back and
theoretically, because we all talk about these timelines like they're a scientific fact, but we're all just kind of put it all together as we go, right?
Theoretically, yes. Look, we're setting sail for speculation island here.
Nice.
So
Total speculation island.
Yep.
Yes. So yeah, theoretically, I think if it does become possible, you're traveling to another timeline, or you're creating another timeline. You're just creating another branch, So I think that's where I am with that. And so going back to the John Teeter thing, right? You know, people are like, well, you know, he got some things right, and then a lot of things were just completely wrong. You know, a lot of the stuff that John Teeter predicted never came to fruition, or whatever, or the future that he describes doesn't line up, you know, as the time passed by. But then you got to throw that thing out there. Is he describing the timeline in a different timeline that he's from, where those things actually did occur? You know, and then he's back here, and just things don't line up because he's on a different timeline. You know, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's very interesting. I always like the whole time travel.
Yeah, it can be a bit of time travel. So let's get Nacy before we go to Joe, because Joe's building one up there. Look at him. He's actually looks like he might be in a laboratory where time travel is a thing.
Are you kidding me? No, I'm just talking to this piece of bubble gum right here because I understand.
It's
Before
conscious.
I chew it,
It's
I want to
conscious.
make sure that I understand its feelings, and that, you know, I
You
just
see,
get its
Joe,
consent
you see,
before I do.
I'm so proud of you, because I mean, I thought that like I was gonna have to bring you up to speed to get you a little more woke around the edges, dude. You're excelling in wokeness. I like it.
I picked this up. I'm picking it up really fast. It's
pretty
good.
cool,
I
right?
like
It's pretty cool. We'll have rainbows and unicorns on the set next week. We're going all in. But Nacy, time travel, my friend. Any stand out for you? And the second part, like Scotty, do you think it's even a thing?
Well, I have heard elders that have talked about in lodge or in ceremony and ritual that my ancestors were able to transcend what we denote as time, where they could go into the past. However, they were not physically there. Like they could send back their essence. And so where you would like be there in the room, but not physically there in the room. So you were able to look around and see what's going on and walk here and there, but you're not able to manipulate it. Because if we think of right now, if we were able to go back in time or forward in time, we would be toxic to that moment we go to, because we are not of that time. So I would have to assume or theorize that there would be the need of some type of regulatory board, so we don't go back and forth in time and mess things up on these different timelines or different dimensions. But in order for that to even occur, because we are on this spinning globe with the spinning moon and the spinning sun, and we're traveling at an incredible rate of speed through space, in order to pinpoint that absolute moment or plot in space in the past or in the future, I don't know if we are in our conventional technology. I don't know if we are there to do that, you know, because of that. You know, every moment we just jumped, what is it, like 36,000 miles in space? The Earth has just moved, and it just did again. You know, so to make that jump forward and backward, you would have to pinpoint it, that you pop in at the right moment of where the Earth is where it was, because if you don't, you're out there in the middle of space somewhere.
Indeed. Right. You know, we think of like a static location on Earth, you know, just yeah, you're right. I mean, when we think, a location, we're thinking about it from the perspective of actually just being on the Earth. And we don't even realize that, right, the entire solar system is rocketing through space.
Bloody amazing, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah. We are never in the same location at any time, and we'll never be at the same location at any time. So to actually,
well, if it's
well, yeah, well, I was gonna say to actually pinpoint the coordinates of where something was at the, that's a hell of a feat, But to your point though, Naysay, like, we're talking about time travel in terms, we were talking about time travel in terms of like technological advancement or whatever. But I agree with you with, when you were talking about like the elders and stuff, time travel can exist in the form, I think, of like astral travel, astral projection, things like that. And
I think that's more realistic than physical time travel.
Yes, that is the more realistic time travel, because think of it, right? What is located behind our foreheads? That soft, mushy quantum computer known as our brain, and I think that is the key to time travel. And yeah, if you were to project yourself somewhere in the past and just be an observer and not really be able to have an effect or change anything, but just kind of go back and just observe what was going on. I think that's possible,
With that ritual and ceremony, it's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right. And then you put your hands on your hips and you pull your knees in tight. But it's the pelvic thrust.
Well, I'll tell you what,
really
if I could go back in time just 5 minutes to when these strawberries arrived, I would be very, very happy. That's all I want, just 5 minutes to get my strawberries back, man. Oh, they're delish.
I love strawberries.
But did they consent?
Did they consent?
They
I don't
did.
think Kev cared.
They did. I grew them fully with the consent of their seeds. I've nurtured them. They knew this moment was coming, and it assures me it's a whole lot better for the strawberry than it even is for me, you see. So Joe, you're not really into the whole you're not buying the time travel, not happening.
No. Now, astral, like
yeah,
Scotty said, from a consciousness standpoint, here's a follow-up question. Let me throw this at you guys. Where does consciousness reside?
Oh.
Does it reside in the brain? Or is the brain just a receiver?
And what is the mind?
What's the mind? What is intelligence?
We need Dr. McCairn, paging Dr. McCairn, the world's leading neuroscientist. We need him here, man. Because
that's where science falls apart.
This is his wheelhouse, dude.
That's where the other side of the house has to fill in the gaps. And it's not even gaps really per se. It's just they work in harmony with each other. And that's the thing that we've been conditioned to, even more so at a base level with all this political crap. It starts with the more technical stuff, but it kind of whittles its way down to the dumb stuff, because by this time we're basically the equivalent of knuckle draggers, humanity.
Okay, so let's look at it this way then, right? Because I do think that as new agey as it might sound, and again, it's just another label, I do think there's like a conscious field, one consciousness. I think our brains are in some way a unique way for us to tap into that. And although there's one consciousness, there's 7.5 billion versions of that experience in itself. I'm not saying we're all the same person technically, but then you get into the realms of, say, quantum computing. And is there a way for then a machine, be it a quantum computer or anything else to come up with, can that then become a seat for consciousness to take hold?
Now, let me ask you this.
Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Why not? But it won't be the same. It won't be the same as us, as how we were created. But no two humans are the same. Whatever artificial intelligence we come up with isn't going to be the same as what God created. So I can't. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, same.
Is
I
it
don't know.
consciousness? Does it fit that definition? What is it? That's the thing. How do you quantify what is consciousness? You can't take a handful of consciousness and measure it.
Yeah. Exactly, dude. Exactly.
I think it's something. I think it's something that really can't be quantified.
No.
If you think about it. Yeah, like you said, how do you quantify it? I don't think you really can.
No, but you can manipulate it. Obviously, look at big tech and how it's manipulated consciousness, conscious thought, going after everything. And here's the thing: we know it can be manipulated, but you just can't quantify it, and that's the problem that you have with all of this, and that's why it's so important to have that kind of 360-degree view of things. It really, truly is. Otherwise, you miss part of that story.
Talking of 360, hour number 3 is just around the corner, and we'll be back after these short messages. But don't forget, we've got Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard coming up after hour number 3 with the Paranormal Portal right here on your number one network, tfrlive.com, where we continue to give you protection from deception and the quintessential level of woo that you're all looking for. We will be right back. Boom! Just like that, we're back. And Nacy, I haven't hung up on you in weeks. Have you noticed that? Nobody's given me credit for the fact I've stopped ditching Nacy from the call. Remember we went through that phase, Scotty, where every time we would go to the break, it was like a subconscious thing. I would hover over him and, no more. Maybe I should just start doing it to Joe. Joe's the one. I should do it to Joe.
I know you almost clicked mine yesterday when we were on with Mary DeCina.
I was
saw
just
that
thinking
little
about it. I was just, Scott, would I do that to you? Would I? Come on now.
No.
Come on now. Come on.
It's never happened. At least not yet.
No.
So
I'm just looking to see what other stories we've got here now. We need to go full woo, I think. And you've got a lot of woo in here, Mr. Lopez. A lot of woo.
I've already got my tabs pulled up, so I'm in. Do you want to go werewolves whenever we get back?
Oh my God. Hour number 3, werewolves? Damn, dropping the hammer. We can get into some demons and werewolves and ghosties and skinwalkers and
I've got werewolves. I've got cryptid big cats.
Do you know what though? I reckon, right? I want to make the chupacabra great again. Nobody talks about the chupacabras anymore.
Right.
Who cancelled the chupacabra? Because who cancelled them? Somebody cancelled the tubas.
They weren't woke.
Is that did they get cancelled? Did they get cancelled for being unwoke, Nacy? Is that what happened? Did they refuse to play the gender, like the pronoun game?
Well, they were even beyond the political correctness. They would have nothing of it. They're like, hey, we're freaking
out of here. We're done with this
do.
dimension. They tried to take the Bigfoot with them, and the Bigfoot said, "No, I like hanging about here. It's easy to scare people, right?"
Well, I would speculate that it actually is the dodo birds that fake their own extinction, and they're running the whole show.
Oh, the great dodo bird conspiracy. I can get behind that.
One.
Yep, I like that. That's more believable than a guy in Valencia in 2027. Scott, I apologize to your mum, but I'm just saying.
I was about to say, okay, we can't go with Time Traveler 2027, but we can go with the Great Dodo Bird conspiracy. All right, we'll do it.
Hey, why not? Why not?
Hey,
Listen,
why not?
It's a thing.
I know, Joe. You already beat Scotty up last week, and now he's coming at him again.
I know. I'm bad. I'm a bad man. What can I say? Joe knows this.
Bad man. You're a bad man.
Look, Mommy, there's an airplane up in the sky.
Aye.
Children of the night, what sweet music they make.
Welcome back to hour number 3 on today's Freaky Friday. Wow, we have covered some amount of topics so far today, ladies and gents, and we're about to drop the woo hammer. Yes, indeed. A big shout out to everyone tuned in today. Big shout out to everyone over on the home of Freaky Friday at tfrlive.com. And don't forget, stay there after today's show because more woo on the way from Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard, Paranormal Portal. It will be firing up and they will take you into all the cryptids, the monsters, the high strangeness. Scott, talking about cryptids and monsters, I don't see that guy that was calling us demonic in the chat room today. What a disappointment.
Elvis has left the
What a
building.
disappointment. Yes, Joe, according to one of the geniuses in YouTube land yesterday, me and Scott Lopez are part of a demonic conspiracy that neither of us could decode. There you
I
go.
can see it. I can see it.
Speaking of YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, become a member. Check out Sundays where the member group gets together and
Yeah.
gets to hear our fearless captain share his experience of knowledge.
Yes, I share my experience of being touched as a child. I'm only joking. But listen, we are going to move into the deep woo. Scotty Lopez.
Mommy,
Yeah.
you touched me in the bad place.
There never is a bad place, Joe. No bad places. All good. So, Scotty Lopez, I don't know what... You've got shadow men. You've got creatures. You've got the Pogian. You've got werewolves. Joe Joseph. I don't know where to start when it comes to creepies.
Well, I figured if we're going to be going into the third hour, we're going to have to,
into the
get into
third
some
eye,
of the,
Scott. We're getting into the third eye.
some of the bread and butter of Freaky Friday, right? I mean, you can't have a Freaky Friday without some cryptids, without some paranormal stuff. So.
Or shadow people, it's crazy.
People, yeah. So let's do it. Let's get into it here. We'll start with this werewolf thing. This is bizarre cases of werewolf deletion sprees. The werewolf is running around deleting a lot.
Wait a minute. They cancelled the werewolf. Oh, right. I get you. A deletion spree. Joe Joseph, pay attention to how we talk on YouTube. Deletion spree.
Yes, a deletion spree has
Got that very, very good. Very good. I'm writing that down. Yeah.
Oh, it says there are many cases of strange creatures throughout history, some more bizarre than others. Perhaps ranking among the more curious of such accounts is that of actual werewolves, shape-changing creatures of lore that seem to surely be the realm of pure myth and legend. Yet there have been many incidents in time during which the name of werewolves has been invoked. And ranking among these is a series of several spates of wolf attacks in the country of India, which not only held the populace in a state of terror, but also gave rise to much talk of supernatural creatures.
Let me jump in there, right? Because we mentioned Eastern religion and that earlier on, Scott. I mean, when it comes to India and that part of the world over there, you're looking at a really kind of, like as a geographical region, absolutely steeped in woo, lore, mythology,
Well,
I
was about to say, I mean, when we're talking about India and that area of the world, the Hindu, I mean, that invokes all kinds of stuff, right? Like the Mahabharata, the crazy,
genetically modified.
And of course, you got to have the major general, the Indian. Come on, it's Indians, man.
Yeah.
Culturally
Yeah.
appropriate. Thank you very much. Very woke.
Dots, not feathers.
Yeah.
So I would say India is a country that is just literally steeped in woo. Like it's a country of woo. So it says
Joseph's sitting pissing himself laughing. What's he laughing at? Look, I'm like,
It is like a very nice strong cup of
a
woo tea.
smorgasbord of woo.
it's been steeped for a very long time.
I mean, look what it done to poor Harbinder. Look what the woo of India done to Harbinder.
Hold on 1 second. It is like a woo concentrate, yes.
Oh, Joe Joseph, you need to work on that accent, dude. Definitely.
A very, very fine wool concentrate. Indeed. Okay, yeah. So it says the earliest known spate of wolf attacks in India that caused great hysteria and talk of the paranormal in its time occurred in the state of Uttar Pradesh in northern India in the year of 1878. There was an unprecedented series of bold attacks made by wolves on humans throughout the rural areas of Uttar Pradesh. Of course, over the course of the year, British officials recorded more than
Of course we did.
yeah. The British officials recorded more than 600 deletions in daring daytime attacks carried out by the rampaging wolves in a matter of months, primarily targeting infants, young children, and women. It was shocking in the sheer frequency and fearless ferocity of the attacks. The Indian wolf, Canis lupus palpes.
There's a thing going on with a bit of Latin tonight, eh? We've had Skidus Marcus.
Indeed. But
we'll be fluent in Latin here in no time.
We're just freshening up on our Latin here, aren't we? A subspecies of gray wolf had been known to attack livestock from time to time, and rarely humans, but they were typically shy and avoided humans, making the sheer intensity of these attacks quite anomalous indeed. Love me a good anomaly.
A beautiful animal, man, isn't it? Sorry, but it's still beautiful.
Oh, no doubt. Wolves are some of the most beautiful creatures, I think. It is perhaps partly because of the breathtaking frequency and fearlessness of these attacks that rumors began to spread that these were no normal wolves, but rather supernatural werewolves.
Oh, it was a jihad of supernatural werewolves.
No,
it was, man. They went full. They were going all in, Scott.
They were going all in, dude. It says at the time, sightings began to come in of people claiming to have seen half man and half wolf creatures lurking about and running off with young ones. With there being reports from witnesses saying that they had seen men transform into wolves to go about their grisly work. Ooh. Such rumors became so rampant that officials actually had to go through villages trying to convince people that these were just normal wolves who had turned to man-eating through starvation or disease. But the strange stories persisted. The attacks eventually tapered off when an aggressive bounty system was enforced, leading to the deletion of around 2,500 animals.
That's a significant invasion force, by the way. There must have been landing crafts and everything. I wonder if they had air support.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Obviously not, since they got taken out by bounty hunters, right? Kind of answered my own question there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was like the Sikh fight club with the swords out, like the temple fight. Remember that? Remember the temple boys?
Good old Sikh fight club. Yeah. Who could forget? And it says, and although there would be sporadic wolf attacks throughout India after this, the 1878 attacks remain the worst on record. This would not be the end of talk of werewolves on the loose in India. But while there continued to be scattered attacks, there would be nothing seen on the scale of the 1878 attacks until the 1990s, when stories of werewolves would also begin to make the rounds again, beginning in April of 1996 in the area of, guess where? Uttar Pradesh. Same place.
I'm going to have to get Bakshi involved here, man. Bakshi needs to take on the werewolves. These bloody werewolves, they will not kill themselves, you know.
I will not stand by and let these wolves do this.
I think they've been genetically modified.
Yes, these werewolves are jittering and jittering.
I'm telling you, man. But listen, all joking aside though, right? Let me ask you, Scott. Where does this originate from? Where does these stories of men turning into werewolves, and we're dealing with India here, right? But you know,
Yeah.
these come from all over the world, guys, don't they? This kind of shape shifting, for lack of a better term. So you have to ask, where did that like emanate from?
That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, this has to go back to one of those things where you have multiple cultures around the world
Experiencing something.
I'm going to guess it's an antediluvian thing, right? Because remember, pre-flood, it was Lord of the Rings, and these things actually did happen and did exist, and there were this type of, you know, genetic manipulation, and it would certainly fit more of like Atlantean lore and all that to kind of say that's where it came from. I kind of want to say it's part of the oral record or the oral tradition that was passed down. You know, we're
definitely
anymore.
I think there might be a bit of jiggering going on.
genetically modification. The werewolves will not be allowed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking as well, though. But in this part of the world, you're not a stone's throw really from the cave in Kandahar, the big giant from Kandahar, and you're talking floodage here, Joe. Eh? Every giant needs a man-sized wolf cub. Who knew?
That's right. According to the book of Joah, I'm telling you right now that these things did happen.
Now, is this one of the books that got
say-
occulted from the Bible? Did they take that out along with the Book of Enoch? And is this like one of the
All the good
forbidden
ones,
books?
The lost
Yeah, it
gospel.
goes with all the other
The
good ones,
Lost
yes.
Gospel of Joah.
Of Joah.
It's written on the back of a stamp.
That's right. Cocktail napkin.
In hieroglyphs.
A stone cocktail napkin in hieroglyphs. I like it.
Nice. Nice.
But I bet you werewolves weren't allowed on the ark.
There's a good point.
No, yeah, probably not.
I still maintain the ark was very scientific. I mean, DNA for me. I don't know. I wasn't there, but it makes more sense to get DNA on board. But I don't
It
know.
would depend upon
Bringing in
it would depend upon
koalas and kangaroos, and that's a bit of a logistical nightmare in our day and age, boys, to get 2x2 from around the world. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Well, depending on the curvature, that arc would have to be incredible, or at least 360 degrees.
Maybe it's like
But
the TARDIS. Maybe it's like the TARDIS, Nacy. It just looks like a boat on the outside, but it's like a whole entire world when you open the door. man.
Hermione's bag.
Yep. Jurassic
But,
Park is inside.
My ancestors, we talked about shapeshifters, you know, but we discussed them or shared the stories of how, you know, depending on the individual, you know, what they were able to do. Some could allegedly transform into other creatures, while some were more, you know, able to focus on werewolves. But I like, you know, when they talk about werewolves, I always think about the dog soldiers. And I would like to throw it out there that I believe the dog soldiers are genetically modified, and they're used to hunt down the cryptids.
Oh, nice. Well, going back to our little werewolf story here, Joe, you kind of derailed me in the Skype a little bit. I'll read that little nugget after the show. So, you know, back to Uttar Pradesh, which in
Is that what they
1996.
call it? Is that the medical term for it,
In that
Scotty?
part of India, that's what they call it. I'm away for a quick utar.
Uttar. Uttar Pradesh. Yeah.
Happy Uttar Pradesh time.
Punta Pradesh, yes. Very
These
good.
things will not play with themselves, you know, Scott.
Other Pradesh. Other Pradesh. Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
So in 96, they were once again held under siege by a marauding wolf pack that seemed to have hunger for the hunger of the humankind.
Who knew?
And once
Who
again-
knew that India was plagued by wolf invasions, dude?
Who knew, man? Yeah, and once again, they targeted young ones, and was not very good. And they were being dragged off by the vicious predators, often in broad daylight and right under the villagers' noses. With
Oh my
human
goodness!
sa-
Oh my goodness! There are wolves on the horizon. Oh, with big red beady eyes. And I am not talking about the ones the dots on the forehead. I'm talking
Please forgive
about
us for our
the
horrible
ones
accents.
right here.
Oh, wow, dude. Wow. You dude.
Was that the man that cried wolf?
Oh,
Yeah, very
I like
good,
it.
very good. Har har har.
I've missed. Is it right to say I've missed him, even though he's such an a-hole? I have missed him, though. Joe, we've missed you. We have. Come on, Scott, I
yes,
want to hear about these villagers coming together like the A-team and building some anti-wolf tank and taking them all out one go.
Yeah. Let's see what goes on here. And it says that they would even sometimes take victims from their own homes. The wolves always managing to evade hunters. One typical report of the harrowing carnage was given in one newspaper as follows: the wolf pounced while Urmila Devi and 3 of her 8 children were in a grassy clearing at the edge of the village, using the open ground for using the restroom because that's what you got to do out there. They don't have a lot of modern sanitation and stuff like that.
Don't
It's all right.
say,
They've got
really.
werewolves teeth it. It's all right.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a goat werewolf hybrid.
Yeah, spider goat.
Of course, when you go to the bathroom out in the wild, you make sure you go with somebody that is much slower than you.
I see. So it said the animal, about 100 pounds of coiled sinew and muscle, seized one of the young ones, the smallest of the young ones, a 4-year-old named Anand Kumar, and carried him by the neck to the
Luxuriant stands, like a luxury. I'm going to take you to the spa. I know. Get you all dudded up before I eat you, boy. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that makes it unbelievable for you, Joe. That's the bit.
Yeah. If it was happening here, or like at, BG Forest with Owl, yeah, probably.
I can see that. I can see them trying to use the werewolves. Yes, indeed.
After the wolf took this boy, took him out to this area of corn and elephant grass that stretched to a nearby riverbank, and when a police search party found
grass, that's kind of a weird dynamic there.
Yeah. When they found the boy 3 days later,
corn.
yeah, corn.
God almighty. Oh dear Lord.
Joe.
Yeah, you said it, not me.
Joe.
What do it like? Is there a happy end to this story? Because it's like,
No, there's not a happy end to this story because
Of course there's not. A bunch of poor Indian kids got their heads ripped off by a werewolf. That's great.
yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And
Oh no, this is the best bit. The panic would reach its height in the end of 1996 when rumours had gone from werewolves to even hyenas or Pakistani
even
intruders wearing wolf costumes to spread terror. Oh, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Just getting together, putting on the wolf costumes and running across the border.
Wait a minute. We got something here because think about this. Look at how powerful a clown was. And imagine how powerful wolves would be. That's right, wolves. I think that's what we have to do. To hell with clowns. Werewolves.
Werewolves in makeup?
Yep.
So here's the question, though. Here's the question I want to throw out there. You know, a lot of this, I'm sure, can be chalked up to, you know, legit wolf attacks. Like maybe something was going on in the environment and the wolves didn't have access to food and they resorted to that, right? I mean,
Good
a wolf
point.
is a wild animal and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna find food, whatever it takes, right? And do what's necessary in order to survive. So if there was something going on where they, you know, they couldn't get access to their normal prey animals, they went to that. However, what if some of these were something more, right? And what if some of these?
It only takes one shapeshifter for it to be real, Scott.
Yeah. I meant for every 100 or 1,000 legit wolf attacks, maybe there's that one or two that is something a little more, right? And I don't think you can. I know, you know, they chalk a lot of this up to like hysteria and panic and like rumors being spread and stuff like that, but how many of those people do you think maybe actually had a legit sighting or an experience? I don't think you can chalk everything up to paranoia and panic and stuff like that. So I think in some cases maybe we actually are talking about some kind of a werewolf cryptid shape-shifting creature that is doing some bad stuff, man.
It's always fascinated me, like, you know, how it became a thing, because it's quite a common thing. The man turning into the wolf and vice versa, the whole shape-shifting kind of discussion. And then you bring in the stories that Kevin's told us before as well, from his people, his ancestors, you know. You think of the skinwalker, that comes into my mind right now when we talk of these things. There's so much we don't know about our own world, our own dimension, let alone these other dimensions and these other creepies and beasties that are out there. You know, I'm like you, Scott. It's insane, in fact, to think we can generalize these cases when it comes to the woo. Everyone has to be a case-by-case example, right? Because in there, there's going to be something, and it only takes one, like I say, for it to be really, really significant, and that makes it a thing.
Indeed. And I know we're about to go to the break, but when we get back, we're going to stay in India because India's got they don't not only have werewolves, it looks like they have some mysterious cryptid big cats as well.
Yeah,
so
it's all a result of
genetically modified.
For the first time ever, I think that was played in context. It actually seamlessly followed on from what you were talking about there, Scott.
Oh, that's very nice.
For one, well, Joe, usually it's very much out of context, and I just throw it in here, there, or anywhere. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Come on, man. Excuse me, it's ma'am. Are you serious?
How dare you?
We got the Are You Serious for you, Joe, and I want a Begley watch before we leave today.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I scrolled down a little bit of this, just kind of, and our cryptid cat is tied in with the mist, Kev.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yes.
Myself and Scott were very, very loosely in our pseudo-scientific way, Joe, not writing a scientific paper about how fog and mist are present at most paranormal experiences, and we think it plays a very significant factor in our pseudo-scientific minds.
How about cold? It gets
Yeah.
cooler too,
Oh,
doesn't
it
it?
does. Yep, it does. I've got a theory to that. I think when a room gets cold like that, the entity, the spirit, is drawing upon the kinetic energy, the heat, if you will, the thermals, and it's dragging it out of the room to muster enough
and
energy to
Doesn't
spooky you.
fog and mist usually correspond with a drop in temperature and cold air? Right?
Yeah, right. Because it condenses.
Is
Yeah,
the
water-
mist
Why should that-
conscious? Panpsychism, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's conscious. The mist is alive. Yes, indeed. So on that note, let me remind you, we'll be back after these really short and snappy messages. You're tuned in live to tfrlive.com, Truth Frequency Radio, home to 33 of the most amazing shows on the planet, on this dimension and in other dimensions. But we'll be back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. Bada bing, bada boom. One more segment. And we are out the room. Been pretty quick today, I must admit. Gone by pretty quickly.
Hey, had a lot of good stuff, a lot of good topics. And so time flies, man.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
It's roasting over here as well. It's still like uncomfortably hot for a Scottish 2:20 in the morning. It's not right.
Yeah, the dew points are. It's been super humid too.
Yeah, we don't get that
Yeah.
humid over here, man. We get that kind of dry heat. It's humidity kicks
That's
my
so
ass. I
weird.
must admit.
You would think being located on an island surrounded by the ocean that, you would always have like a constant humidity level of some sort. But
Yeah, right.
Nah, not as bad as you guys get it
Crazy.
over there.
I know, and it's weird because like I'm in the middle of the country, nowhere even near any ocean or body of water, but because of the airflow, because of the way the air pumps up from the Gulf of Mexico and it pushes all that humidity across the middle of the country, well, across most of the country really, except for the west. So yeah, it's humid and hot here, man. It's getting ridiculous. Summer has definitely set in.
How is it where you are, Joe? Nacy?
It has been,
Mid-90s.
it has been an absolute like quagmire, dude. We've gotten so much rain, it's not even funny. Probably like this month they shattered the record for July of
Ouch.
total rainfall.
Yeah, like our rainy season went really late, and it just now finally the atmospheric faucet has been turned off over the middle of the country.
Man,
But,
I wish.
Yeah, we're just under a big high pressure system that's just sitting over us, and it's probably going to sit over us for weeks and weeks and weeks. So we'll see. But at least we got our rain for the year, or we would be in a real bad drought situation. So
We are in northern Minnesota.
yeah, I noticed a lot of the storms didn't really reach that far up there. So
Yep, they're saying that the wild rice is going to be a really poor crop this year.
it sucks. Yeah, and this is actually kind of your guys' storm season, because as the summer goes on, the storms keep moving farther north and north and north. So hopefully you guys get some rain.
According to my ancestors, that with their calendar system, this last full moon is actually the middle of August. So it's the August month's full moon. But our new year starts with the spring equinox too. And then we start counting the months from that demarcation of the cycle.
Yeah.
Predicting the early winter.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to go on this winter. I think it's going to be weird. We're going to have a weird winter, I think.
Okay, here we go.
I'm
Get
just-
ready. Final segment of Freaky Friday. Can't believe we're almost finished for another week. Yes, indeed. I'm Kev Baker. We got Joe Joseph hiding in his workshop somewhere. Naysay is here. Scotty Lopez has been dropping the werewolf hammer. Yes, indeed. And we're going back to Scotty for some more woo in a second. But let me remind you first, don't go anywhere after the show. If you're on the TFR website, you are in for a rare treat because Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard will be taking over after us, and they will take you through 2 hours of the Paranormal Portal. And then Naysay, you know what show comes on after that because you've been a special guest over there. Is it the Spaces Between?
Spaces Between, yes.
See, I got it right. I got it right. I got it right.
Tonight, I think on Paranormal Portal, if I am correct, I think I am, but his son is going to be on tonight. His son is visiting, so that's a real good treat also.
Very, very good. Yes, I might try and catch some of that right after we finish here. So don't forget, Paranormal Portal on TFRlive.com, and also you can catch Brent every night of the week. He's just back from a little break. The Paranormal Portal over on YouTube for all of your woo needs. So with that said, Scotty boy, coming back to you. We're not going to Joe's story that he dropped in there. I'd actually seen that earlier on today. I'd shared it on Twitter.
Shucks.
Yes, imagine that. What a way to go. But Scotty boy, where are we going now?
Yeah, not very algorithm friendly, but I will look at that article after the show.
It's hysterical.
Back to India?
Yes, we are going back to India. And we're going to talk about was it Pogian? That's how I'm going to say it. A mysterious cryptid big cat. And it says, sprawled across the vast area along the western coast of India is the majestic mountain range called the Western Ghats, also known as the Sahyadri. The range stretches for 990 miles along the coast, covers 62,000 square miles, and is a treasure trove of flora and fauna. The mountain range is classified as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its mist-shrouded forests have here considered one of the 8 hotspots of biological diversity in the world.
Oh, it's even woke. It's got woke mist.
Very, very diverse up there. Yes, indeed.
The trees have pronouns.
Yeah. Holding a vast portion of India's flora and fauna with many species found nowhere else on Earth. And actually, I watched one of those, National Geographic.
Love that channel.
No,
dude.
it's like BBC, nature things, Was it David Attenborough or whatever? They were talking about this area of India, and it's actually really, really crazy.
I don't often give BBC credit, but they do a good nature show now and again when they've got old Attenborough. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this place is really amazing from what I've seen. The biodiversity is so rich here that it rivals that of the Amazon basin of South America. Think about that. It's even more. It's got even more of a biological diverse just range of things than the Amazon. It's wild, And there are thought to be many species waiting to be discovered in the remote terrain, with many being regularly discovered right up to the present. It seems like the perfect place for a large undiscovered creature to be lurking, and one of these is a mysterious big cat that has long been reported by the natives and has only recently come to the attention of cryptozoologists. The locals call it the Pogian Puli, or just the Pogian, which roughly translates to the cat that comes and goes like the mist.
Nice.
Or the smoky cat. due to its coloration and the fact that it is so elusive that it seems to appear and disappear at will. Mostly seen in the high altitude grasslands of Anamundi Peak and in the remote Araviculum forest. The description of the Pogean is usually that of a big, heavy-built cat similar to the size of a leopard, with a long tail, rounded ears, and a uniform darkish gray or smoke-colored coat. Locals say that it
With
is
a
very
smoking jacket.
wears a smoke jacket. Man. He's ready. He's
Beware the big cat in the smoking jacket.
Exactly. Maybe that's not mist he's coming from. Maybe it's just the smoke coming from his pipe, right? You know?
Chopping on a big cigar or something, man, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Locals say that it is very different from any other cats or large wildlife known to live in that area, such as the caracal, tiger, leopard, or the civet. And they speak of it as a completely different animal, reclusive, shy, and only ever a fleeting glimpse. The mysterious Pogean only came to the attention of wildlife enthusiasts with a 2008 documentary on the Western Ghats called The Mountains of the Monsoon, in which wildlife photographer and filmmaker Sandesh Kondur documents much of the wildlife in the mountains here, including new, never-before-seen species, and mentions his own encounter with the mysterious Pogean. According to Kadur, a few years before making the documentary, he had been at the grasslands of Anamundi Peak along with some local tribespeople when they saw a large gray cat walk across the grassland in broad daylight. Kadur, who was intimately familiar with the wildlife of the Western Ghats, had never before seen anything quite like it. And when he asked his companions what it was, they told him it was the Pogean. He was so entranced and so afraid of scaring it off that at the time he merely watched it and did not take a photograph, something he would regret. He would then go about using camera traps with heat-sensitive cameras and baited with chirping models of black-capped chickadee, but these yielded no results. When the documentary was released, it put the Pogean into the public consciousness, and other reports would come forth as well. Indian journalist Janaki Lenin uncovered several other reports of the Pogean and wrote of them in an article in The Hindu. One of these was Santosh Mani, a tea estate manager in Munnar who claimed to have seen the Pogean twice over a 5-year period. Mani claimed that on both occasions the cat was crossing the road from one tea field to another, and that he had gotten a good look at it, describing it as a cat almost as big as a leopard with a long tail, but it had no spots. Another witness was James Zakaria, and a Kerala Forest Department official who had been climbing up a slope in Araviculum forest and looked up to find himself face to face with the cat lying on a rocky ledge looking right down at him. The cat seemed to have been just as startled as he was, because it then vanished into the wilderness. Zakaria is a particularly reliable witness, as not only is he a forest official who is an expert on the wildlife of the area, but he saw it at very close range and insists it was not any big cat known to live in the area. He subsequently tried to urge forest officials to launch an expedition to investigate the cat, but no action was ultimately taken. Although they are open to the possibility that there is a new species of big cat out there, one forest official has said of this: there are unexplored flora and fauna in the Marayur forest landscape, which stretches from an altitude of 200 meter from mean sea level to 2,694 meter MSL. The 22-kilometer stretch hosts the most diverse flora and fauna just because the Pogean has not been photographed. One cannot conclude that the animal does not exist. And I agree. I mean, you're talking about such a huge area. I'm sure there is a undiscovered species of cat along with many, many other undiscovered species out there. So it says there's been a lot of speculation on what the Pogean could be, including a misidentified caracal wildcat or civet, an anonymously covered leopard or tiger, or colored leopard or tiger, or even an out-of-place Asian lion. However, there have been very reliable and knowledgeable witnesses who discount these explanations and are adamant that this is something new. What are we dealing with here? What sort of mysterious big cat is roaming the wilds at the moment? It remains unclear, and we are left to wonder. So yes,
I'm going to put it out there that I first, after hearing the description of the Pogean, I think the first time I came across such an entity was by the writer Lewis Carroll. And if I may quote, "You may notice, but I'm not all there myself, the Cheshire Cat, who seemingly like the mist would appear out of thin air."
Interesting.
I'm pretty open to an area like this having undiscovered species of cat, especially when a couple of the descriptions there, it doesn't sound like the most sociable animal. It kind of makes its way away as soon as humans come near it and things. So somewhere like that. This is a thing, right? This is what's great about the world when you think about it. Even in the year 2021, there's still parts of the world, like it says here, flora and fauna that have been undiscovered. Possibility of big cats in this one location. There's so much going on that we've got no clue about. It's mad.
Yeah, India also has what is it, the Asian snow leopard?
Yeah.
It's so rare to even get a photograph of it. I mean, it's very similar, I think, in the way that they describe the Pogean, right? Like, it's very shy. It really avoids any sort of contact, and because it lives at such high altitudes, it's just such a rare thing to see. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of undiscovered species out there that just, but then it also, you got to take into account, well, if there's so many undiscovered species out there, I mean, what kind of cryptids do you think are out there, right? I mean, then we got to start talking about, Yetis and, what else? What else
that part
is
of the
there?
world you're talking about there, that would definitely fall into Yeti territory. We're talking up near Himalayas and things like that, mountainous region. I would think they probably have the Yeti as well. Although maybe the Indians have got a different name for it. Maybe they've got a different name for it,
It's also, Kandahar giant territory and all of that, right? I mean,
we're talking about a part of the world that is the majority of the area we're talking about here is mountainous. Mountains.
Yes.
We've talked about the
mountain ranges.
Yeah, we've talked about the Native Americans and the way that they absolutely revere some mountains. They look at them as being like stargates where entities can come and go. And then if we look at that then, sorry Kev, but if we look at that then, and if one mountain has that miraculous ability, be it with the way the stone's made up, the quartz, I don't know, and then you multiply it by 10, 100, 1,000 into a range of mountains, like the ones we've seen over in India and Afghanistan and places like that, then what happens when you get that concentration of rock and weirdness and woo going on? I don't know, Nacy, I don't know, but I'm definitely open to this being a very, very supernaturally charged, active, coming and going area of the world. What do you say?
I recall when I could see where they would show footage of like cougars, panthers, these big cats, where they could grab like an elk or a huge deer, like, you know, over 100 pounds easily, and grab it in their mouth and climb up a tree and then go ahead and eat it. And then you throw on top of it the supernatural aspect of an entity like that. Yeah, I would not want, if somebody is like, hey, you know what? Don't go in those woods right there because there's like a mystical cat that seems to show up out of nowhere.
Well, Nacy,
I think that's...
Nacy, think of Scott Sigler. Think of the books we read.
Yes!
About the cave
You
systems.
read my mind.
Who knows what could be in there, dude,
Yeah.
right? We talk about the giant of Kandahar. That could just be the tip of the iceberg, really, you know, when it comes to these cavernous entrances to literally what would be akin to an alien world, because it's like totally cut off from where we are.
And like you said, I mean, you know, a lot of those areas, especially like the Himalayas and just these huge mountain ranges, humans have not touched any of that. It's like the terrain is so inaccessible that there's like, it's pretty much impossible to get there unless you're like airdropped in and and picked up. But even then, like the weather conditions and all that stuff usually don't even allow for that. So it's just like completely unexplored, untouched areas. And like you said, we don't understand how what these cave systems lead to. How far down do they actually go?
Well, I stand corrected here, guys. Sorry, but it's not a Yeti that you get in India.
Oh, what do we?
No, I was
What do you get?
I was culturally inappropriate. Don't cancel me. It's a Mandi Barang. In Indian folklore, the Mandi Barang is an alleged ape-like creature said to inhabit the Meghalaya, subtropical forests in the remote Garo hills of North.
I think the Yeti,
India.
isn't that in Tibet and China?
Yeah, but I mean, you're not a million miles away when you're talking about the Indian mountains as well. That's why I thought it would be the same thing, but no. Generally described as a large, hairy, bipedal hominid. Some believe that this is an animal or a relative, may be found around the world by different names. Yes, indeed. The Yeti in Tibet and Nepal. The Man Banush in Bangladesh. I like that one. The Ban Manush. The Yeren of mainland China. The Bigfoot of the Pacific Northwest. Yes. So there you go, boys. The Mandi Barung.
Mandi Barung.
These
Nice.
Mandi Barungs, they will not kill themselves, you know.
Well, even if you go and check out some of the artwork of the different entities, if you want to call them crypto, you know, it's incredible, and the excitement or the romanticism or the nostalgia of thinking that these creatures are possibly still existing. I want to believe.
Oh, definitely. I'm totally on board. You know, I think that there's animals out there that we think are extinct that aren't, and then you have the animals and creatures out there that we have yet to discover, right? And it's, I mean, look, what was it? The Tasmanian tiger, right? They thought that thing was extinct, and it looks like there's still sightings of it going on.
All the unknown Amazon tribes that ended up being like cannibal tribes, and no one knew they existed.
Extra carnivorous, Joe. Extra carnivorous.
Terrestrial.
There you go.
Well, you know, Captain Kev had to have us all sign non-disclosure agreements because when he took us to Speculation Island, all of the entities that we got to meet there we can't specifically come out and call them out because of that non-DA that
That's what it
Kev
is.
made us
That's what it
sign.
is. And if anyone breaks the NDA, well, you've never heard what happens to them because they don't get seen anymore. So you see, that's what happens. See? Yeah.
And then on top of all of the undiscovered species that we may have floating around here on, then we got to throw in the extra multi-dimensional entities or whatever that may be popping in and out as well. A lot of the supernatural stuff that could be occurring. So it's just there's a lot going on that we don't understand, and I don't think we'll ever be able to understand.
Well, one of the members of the KBS channel on YouTube, Jennifer, big shout out to you. She loves werewolves. There you go. There you go.
Excellent. Wow, that's awesome.
The
Cool.
lichen lover.
Yep, exactly.
just
But some
about to
people
say
like
that.
the bad boys. Some people like shapeshifters. It is what it is. And werewolves would be the bad boys of the shapeshifting world, right? You would think.
I
And
would
please,
imagine so, yeah.
Yeah.
and I hope the love of the werewolf didn't come from Twilight. What a no.
Never
I was
watched
not a
it.
fan.
Never intended.
Lon
to.
Chaney.
Good.
Lon
You're not
Chaney,
missing.
the old black and white. I remember that one scaring me.
Yeah, there's something. There's something to the old werewolf. I think we all contain an ancestral memory of at one time running naked, maybe a loincloth on, getting chased by a werewolf, and the Bigfoot. And some of us remember what happened when we got caught, and that's why we're still damaged today. That's all I can say. Can't tell you any more than that here on Speculation Island. We'll need to go to a different island altogether. We're almost
You're
out of time,
talking
boys. 5 minutes.
Oh,
I,
wow.
Aye, 5 minutes before Joe Joseph leaves us without even saying goodbye. Because that's what he does, folks. He's
I don't know
bad
what
like
you're
that. It's like a
talking
one-night stand. He comes in and he uses us. He uses and abuses us for 3 hours, and he
That's
doesn't even say goodbye when the door shuts.
no,
You know what?
I'm already snoring by then.
Yeah, so yeah.
You know what I think? I think Joe was working on in his little robot laboratory there. I think he was working on an invisibility cloak.
The
Well,
control pin.
it could well be because it's working.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. An invisibility cloak. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Indeed, indeed. For people listening on the radio, Joe has got a background that looks like I don't know, it looks like Ben 10's scientific lab. I don't know, there's a robot getting built.
Ben 10.
Hey man, Ben 10.
Wow,
come on.
that's pretty original. Yeah, very
Listen,
good.
are you going to make you want to fight about it like you pissed off? I use Ben 10. What's your problem, Joe? Come on.
I don't even know who is Ben 10.
Ben 10? Dude, I see. I only know about Ben 10 because of my boy.
I might have to throw it back a few more years and reference a cartoon that Joe might be familiar with. It looks like Dexter's Laboratory.
Okay, gotcha.
There we go.
That's a fair one. Fair one. So, what you got planned for the weekend, Joe? Anything interesting coming up?
Absolutely nothing interesting coming up.
I like that. Hold that thought. That's always a nice weekend. What about you, Nathan?
Yeah, you know it.
What about you, man? You got anything on the horizon?
I might be having a couple buddies come over tomorrow. We're going to do a Mad Hatter's Tea Party and get all the recording devices and see what happens. And I'm also writing a PPP proclamation for the reservation for the full legalization.
Remember to keep it sternly worded. Letters are always best sternly worded. I like it. I think you're going to do well with this one. I see a bright future, Nathan. Scotty, what has the Lopez clan got planned?
I'm taking the Joe Joseph approach, and I got nothing. I got nothing going on. Just whatever happens, and hopefully it's nothing negative. So
Well, if anyone out there tomorrow night at midnight in the UK, or technically tonight, that'll be 7 p.m. on the East Coast and 4 p.m. on the West Coast. It's going to be chapter 12 of Our Alien Ancestry tomorrow.
Ooh.
And that's coming to us all the way from Australia, from my good friends, Evan and Stephen Strong. They're going to be talking about the mounds and the monuments and the skulls and the ancient aliens. There's also going to be another couple of speakers on as well. And then you get to hear a bit of channeling with something a little different at the end of the show. I only recommend it to people out there because as far as online conferences go, this is pretty good. This is going to be the 4th one I've attended, and I'm really looking forward to it. So if you can make it along there tomorrow night, ouralienancestry.net, you can find out all of the details there. You can come and hang out with me in the chat room and listen to all the latest woo coming from down under. We'll be going back down under soon on Freaky Friday when we welcome back some of our Australian friends. I think it might actually be next week. I'm not too sure. But anywho, on that note, let us hand over the chalice of woo to Brent Thomas. And wherever you are, make it TFR and Dinny touch that dial. And that,
Happy birth
boys,
recognition day.
boys
And that voices
girls,
that. But I must say, goodbye.
This is where he does it, isn't it? This is where he does it. What, he's just gonna... No, don't do it until we go, Joe. That's just rude. It's just rude. So listen, folks, I want to thank you all for being here today.
What?
Yes, indeed, Joe Joseph. He's away. Look, he's gone. That's him. He's done. He's out. That's what he does. He's like... It's like panda sex. What's panda sex, I hear you saying? Well, he eats, he shoots, and leaves.
Happy birth recognition day, Infinity.
Happy birthday, Infinity.